Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNerdsNeed on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects that you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? The co-host with the most.
Representing BK to the fullest.
And you can find this here podcast on the... Oh, wait, that's weird. On the Coastal of the Podcast Network, that's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and to leave us all the good 5-star reviews.
Yeah. Weird. You can also find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, please hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you know when we are on the air.
Yeah, Twitch is doing something really funky and I don't like it, but that's fine.
Ain't it funky?
Yeah. This is Bobby. Anyway, folks, tonight we...
Hey, what the hell is James saying?
I don't know. Just go along with it. Just go along with it.
Oh, I'm sorry, folks. We are now making old comedy references in addition to the music references.
Indeed. And with that, folks, we're going to start off with a spoiler-free recap of... actually, we didn't go with this, but we'll do what we've been doing. I guess we'll start with Andor first, since that's on Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll start with Andor, and it's probably the easiest thing to recap this week.
Pretty much. So, actually, I did not get the name of the episode, but it's.
I think wasn't it just literally episode 5? Oh no, it's called the A.X.E Forgets.
That's right, because of course they put the title in the as a talking point or as a thing in the talking. So yeah, that's what it is. And yeah, there's really not much to say about it. Like, I'm pretty sure somebody's going to be like, it's not a lot of action, blah, blah. And it wasn't. It was basically, as Agent 70 said before the show, pretty much the calm before the storm. Well, you didn't say that like that, but I did.
It's quite literally, and these are the most minor spoilers if you are watching this show. If you are not watching this show, then it's, a little bit closer to being, somewhat substantive spoiler material. But it's essentially the day before the big heist. And anytime there is a heist involved, think the Ocean's movies, think the Fast and the Furious, the day before, there's always consternation, there's always concern, there's always something that needs to be taken care of when it comes to the plan. And that's essentially what's happening in this episode of Andor.
Yep. Pretty much.
And, yeah, we get a little. I was going to say we get a little bit of backstory for some of the
side characters,
the members. I was about to say, the members of the team that Cassian Andor has found himself teaming up with. Mm-hmm. So we get some of that. We get some character work from some of these from some of the members of the cohort, and we also see We also get a little bit more backstory and background on the tryhard from the corporate police.
Yep.
And his very overbearing, overprotective mother.
Yep. Pretty much. And with any type of case in this, if you've seen any heist movie, action movie before the big thing pops off, you kind of know where the pieces are going to lie in most cases. And given that this is let's say a prequel to Rogue One, I'm not suggesting that it's going to pop off the same way that ended.
Right.
But I feel like there's going to be some similarities in a case or two.
Yeah, I was about to say I feel like I should be pulling I feel like I should be pulling a sound effect from a certain M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie. You know.
Yeah, we don't need that kind of energy here, but keep it in the pocket.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, a certain Bruce Willis led. Not and that's actually pretty vague because he's been in a couple of M. Night Shyamalan movies.
This is true, but if you think about it, you think about the through line, you know which one.
Yeah,
the classic one.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much it. There's really not much else to say about Andor this week. It was good. It's just that it was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a story-driven episode. It was much more, like as I said earlier, dedicated to providing more background for the team members and really setting the stakes for the big heist. And I'm presuming that heist is probably going to take up at least an episode, if not two.
Yeah, like unless they, which I was about to say, unless they make the episode a little bit bigger, which I think so far they've all been within the 40-minute mark,
right,
or more or less. So yeah,
pretty much.
Imagine them do that. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. We already know this thing is going to. Well, you know what? And I guess hitting upon something you said like last week, and I can't remember if you said that on the show or not. If they are doing the 4-3 act thing, that would make sense that these next two would take up the big thing that would take up the heist. So
right.
But yeah, that's that. So we're gonna move on to talking about this week's Marvel's She-Hulk.
Yep. Again, mild spoilers because this literally was released today. So I ended up watching it, in bits and pieces during the day. Mm-hmm. But, I'm going to ring the spoiler bell because guess what, fanboys and fangirls? That long-awaited cameo finally happened.
Yeah.
Spoilers are now incoming.
Indeed. And, I guess I'll go ahead and address this now before I forget. So, looking forward to it, definitely. And it definitely paid off quite well. Part of me is still thinking that, some of the best parts of this show have been the stuff that's kind of stuff that hit that you didn't know about, like, Madison with two N's and a Y,
right?
Luke Jacobson doing his Edna Mode impression, stuff like that. So that being said, the Daredevil and the other the other cameo, or the other I guess reveal / cameo that of whom we've seen before but now shows up in this, those have been telegraphed for pretty much since the show, before the show started,
right?
So it takes a little bit of sting out of it, but the episode was still great once you start getting into what actually happens.
At the end of the day, my point on this is always going to be is that it's very entertaining, right? Yes. The show is entertaining. It's not meant to be, high drama. It's supposed to entertain. Although there is some drama here in this episode that comes essentially at the very tail end of the episode in a scene that, as part of the meta-textual, kind of fourth wall breaking dialogue, kind of felt like it would have been a tag, like a tag scene or a or a mid-credit scene, but it ended up, because it was on the longer side, playing out as the final scene of the show. And Jennifer Walters, as played by Tatiana Maslany, actually comes right out and says so.
Right.
And it was very interesting that the drama that kind of unfolded in this episode was really reserved for those last like 5 minutes or so.
Right. It was basically, you know, if you've been paying attention to some of the things that's been going on the sides or throughout the show, it's basically the shoe dropped.
Right.
So.
Right. Not how we expected, though. Not how we expected, because we expected something a little bit more, let's say, comic booky as opposed to real life.
Fair. Yeah, well, but like I told Agent 70 before the show, like, the way the show's been going, I kind of saw it the way it was going to be. Like, maybe there was going to be a little bit more on top of it that would have been more comic booky, but I felt like this was definitely coming. Like I said, because the whole show's been kind of playing out, going along this line the whole time, so I would have expected.
I didn't necessarily see it that way, because I thought that the twist. You know, I guess the final jab that really, like that literally got under She-Hulk's skin more than an adamantium or titanium needle would have, was something I didn't necessarily see.
Mm-hmm.
Like that final jab.
Right.
You know, I was surprised to hear that, and I was like, oh, okay, that's how they're doing this. You know, and have that be the triggering factor of what ends up, you know, being the point of it all.
Right.
You know, well, what ends up being like the goal that it seems that the ultimate antagonist of this show seemed to have been seeking. So, you know, it's interesting to me that, you know, it took me by surprise just a touch. You know, that it turned out to be a far more realistic, real world based means of attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I said, we were talking before the show, and I was saying to Agent 70 that to me, it still felt like there might be two different plots that might end up coming together. Like, I don't know if what happened here is a part of the overarching villain plot, but you can kind of see where the both could kind of intertwine. But I am not entirely sure that they connect like that. So that's whether that bears out in come the next episode, which there's really not much more time to do anything extra. So I would assume they would have to do something. It would have to be all amongst the same plot, you know? Mm-hmm. Because it's like the next episode's the last one, right?
She-Hulk, yeah.
Yeah. So like,
yeah, because this is episode 8,
right?
So there's one more.
So unless they make this next one kind of like an extra-sized episode, which I doubt they're going to do, you know, then everything that's kind of been presented so far is kind of going to come together with this next one.
Right. And I wonder if they're going to bring Bruce back in a tag, or if it's going to be part of the actual show.
That's a good question. Or even if they're going to do that. Like, I'm kind of actually wondering if they are going to do that at all.
If they're just going to leave it? No, They're not going to just leave it. They'll address it with a to be continued, maybe. You know, with like a setup for it to be followed up on somewhere else. That's what I suspect.
I would like to believe that too, but I don't know. I'm at this point, I don't know. I feel like they just kind of let that go for elsewhere.
Well, I feel like that's what they're going to do, but they'll add something in. They'll throw something in to give you a hint of where we might see it next. Maybe.
I would like to believe
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, give us an idea, because we already know what is on the Marvel slate for the next, 2-3 years, whether or not they tease it with a character, with a name, something.
Right.
So.
Yeah,
or not. It comes out. I'd laugh if it comes out that it's going to be Thunderbolts.
I mean, we have seen stranger things happen in this show that we did not expect to happen. That we kind of knew, that's coming up. So,
right.
So that is not outside the realm of possibility. But even if they did do that, and real quick, we're going to kind of push on from there. But I'm wondering, so that would, I guess, if they do that, then that could potentially mean that Jennifer would be involved with whatever that is.
Possibly. That's what I think too.
Right. So if that is the case, then not. But if they just kind of left that, it was like, no, we just leave that for something else. Then we kind of, see where that's going to go, and she won't be involved.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
That being said, this was a proper good episode. Check out the Easter eggs, including one that I hope Agent 70 noticed at the bar that I still think is what I'm thinking it is, or that who shows up in a particular section.
At the bar?
Yes. Don't worry about it. We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I was watching it without enough care. I did finally see the tow truck name.
Yeah.
On a quick second viewing. So
let's just say it's along that line, except for except for an actual person.
I gotcha. So, all right.
And and I will say some sound effects, but that's outside of that. I like to believe that this is the episode that people have been waiting for, and it pretty much pays off, I guess, in that.
Right, because of Leapfrog.
Yes, because of Leapfrog. But also,
we knew he was coming. Right. It was all Leapfrog all the time. Which is Ribbit and Ribbit.
Yes, and I think that's the name of the episode, by the way, if we did not say. So yeah, thank you for saying that. But yeah, that's kind of been the whole week on the internet. Been talking about that. It was like, yeah, it's a longer awaited cameo you've been waiting for. Leapfrog. Or at least for the last couple of days. I'm like, okay, that's pretty funny. That was pretty good.
Exactly.
But yeah, like I said, anything else we probably get into spoilers, and I don't want to do that. But I would say check out this episode, and I would like to believe you won't be disappointed. I think.
Yeah,
that being
pretty much. Yeah, I was about to say, let me just do the quickie Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, and House of the Dragon. What's that?
I'm caught up on Rings of Power.
Oh, okay. All right. So in this episode, we have lots of action aftermath.
Yeah. That's putting it nicely.
Lots of action aftermath. So I will actually let Roddy, since I've been hogging all the Rings of Power stuff up until now. I'll let Roddykat put his thoughts into the pot on this.
Go for it. And I'll chime in after you finish.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what I was going to say, is that, just because we're not trying to spoil it, obviously people like you, are maybe consuming these things like chunks at a time and may not be all the way caught up before the next episode tomorrow, as of the date of this recording. So at the end of so ultimately, I don't want to spoil too much, but just say that the previous episode was a big battle sequence, and this one is everything that happens after, including something that had been teased happening to one location, but actually happening in another one.
Right. Actually, technically, since the show comes
flee, run for your lives.
Yes. I was about to say, technically, since the show comes out on Friday and it's been 6 days, you can kind of spoil it, but I still won't, just in case. But nevertheless, yes, we do see we do see some terraforming happening. Yeah, and some thievery and some stupidity happening. Yes.
I'm like, really? They didn't notice that this was switched at some point?
Right. I thought it was like, wait, how do you not know was? And I was just trying to figure out. Wait, well, never mind. That part doesn't matter, because it's like, okay, yes, you would think somebody, especially somebody with the senses as keen as an elf, would have noticed.
Right.
So, but yeah, like I just haven't said, we kind of get some aftermath stuff. I will say I've been enjoying the show. There was one nagging part of me when I first started watching it last week, in that, like, who the hell is this name? This name sounds familiar. I'm supposed to know this name, and I'll say it is Isildur.
Isildur!
Right. And I'm just like, wait, I know this name from the other. He is somebody. of note. And
Throw it into the fire.
No. and then yeah, and then I was watching the Easter egg video. I was like, oh right, this clown, like this dude, and it all makes sense too because it's like, okay,
yep.
You know, at least if you've seen the Lord of the Rings movie and know that where that character ends, happens to that character, and you see this, it all makes plenty of sense. But again, in a lot of characters, I think the only character that kind of does and slightly doesn't make sense at this point is Galadriel for some reason. Like it does, but it's like they're kind of playing a little loose with her character a little bit, I think.
Yeah, because it's almost like there's a before and after.
Right, and I get it. Like to get that character the way she was, she had to come from somewhere, and so I got that. That's why I was like, okay, it makes some sense. We definitely get another reveal from a couple of episodes back about. I don't know if it's a B plot or the A plot of this, but let's just say there is a substance that came into play in the last couple of episodes.
Yep.
That folks are after.
Right.
And as much as I say it, like, yeah, this whole thing is gonna be the chase for that.
That, and also, how what ends up happening to Durin's people, like establishing how all that stuff happens.
Right.
So, all right, cool. I'm glad that you're caught up.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoyed the ride.
Mm-hmm. Oh, especially that last episode.
I know some people complained that it was a little on the boring side. I'm like, no, I didn't really like. Maybe I think the first episode was a little dry, but I think for the most part, it's been pretty fun.
I wouldn't even say that. Like you recognize that, even shows like this kind of need some setup. Like sometimes it takes whole seasons to kind of get a proper setup, but they figure you kind of know enough about this to kind of be able to jump in if you are familiar with the property,
Right.
So you don't necessarily need as much setup as you would for something that's like a brand new property or something. So that being said, also while I'm here, before we move on, shout out to Benji Games 2, who's in the chat and who asks how we're doing today. We're doing all right. Thank you, appreciate it for coming through.
Yes, thank you for joining. Hanging in there. That's the best I can say.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we just finished talking about the Rings of Power episode. What was that? Episode 6, right? Yeah. I think that's right.
I think so. Yeah, episode 6.
Yeah. So, and we're going to get into Agent 70's quick recap of House of the Dragon, which I think is episode 7.
Yes, it's one ahead, right? Yeah. So, bottom line here is that the Targaryen family are definitely making moves to shore up their power, and there are people dying left and right. There's incest flowing aplenty, and it is, this was actually a pretty good episode, but for one of the shows, and I say Game of Thrones as a whole, one of the show's most nagging problems, and I know I saw bits and pieces of this being remarked on social media, is that there was an extended scene that seemed to be very dark, and people had just real issues following what was going on because it was very poorly lit. And obviously they were, filming things in natural light, and the natural light had basically, come down into the, beyond the twilight. And so, the lighting was just really dim, and it was a little hard to follow. You had to really adjust your eyes. So, I know that there are social media posts out there that talk about, I forget the name of the episode, but everyone knows what I'm talking about, from the first run of Game of Thrones, where everyone was complaining about the darkness and the dimness of the lighting. And there are certain settings that you can set your TV to, the video settings of your television to, so that it's easier to watch. I'm 100% sure someone's probably put that together to watch this episode 7 of House of the Dragon. But bottom line here is that this episode is definitely a turning point in this season. This is probably one of the most crucial episodes that you have to watch. So try not to get spoiled on this. If you find yourself having to rewatch it, I think you should, because there's a lot happening here. There's, like I said, people dying, incest aplenty, and moves being made to shore up power. So if you need to get things straight, obviously, and if you don't have time to rewatch it, obviously there are plenty of articles online that will help you figure things out. But if you do have the time, I would suggest you go back and rewatch it so that you can kind of figure out where pieces have moved on the chessboard and which pieces have been taken off the board.
Right. So basically, you're saying this peak Game of Thrones is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. This is probably like the most pivotal episode that they've had so far.
Mm. And I will add that, like, yeah, there are articles out there. There are also like basically Easter egg videos that will run through a lot of that stuff. Then you can definitely check it out wherever, if you're on certain sites or on YouTube, that'll have that stuff if you kind of need that. So cool. And basically, you're basically saying that they missed out on the golden hour. You would think that's a rookie mistake for filmmaking, but I guess maybe that was intentional.
I think it was intentional.
Yeah. Huh. Weird.
Mm-hmm.
All right then. Well, we're gonna go into the books of the. Oh wait, no, that's it. We're gonna go into the books of the week, starting off with the A.X.E tie-ins that we have this week, starting with A.X.E.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
That's right. I should have waited for that. A.X.E. X-Men #1.
A.X.E. X-Men #1 is written by Kieron Gillen with art by Francesco Mobili, colors by Frank Martin, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So this is a story that centers upon the ragtag team of Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals that are making their way through the Progenitor. But as the cover basically lets everyone know, this is very much a Jean Grey centric story. And if you are familiar with the basic trope of these tie-in issues, the main character of the story is the main character that's set to be judged by the Progenitor. And it's a very interesting walk down the path of memory lane for Jean Grey. And her trying to justify herself and what she's done in order to pass or fail.
Right. Someone might say this is appropriate.
Previously on this guy.
So, yeah.
Where's that from?
Last week's She-Hulk.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I'm like, that kind of stuff. The voice sounds familiar, but the reference doesn't,
Right. So, yeah. So here I was thinking when I was reading this, I was like, I could have sworn, and I was telling this to Agent 70 prior to the show. I thought Jean had already been judged, but apparently I was thinking about Cyclops. Mm-hmm. Who did mention her in his judging, and that got referenced in this book, along with a few other things going on. So that was kind of cool. But other than that, like Agent 70 said, I was like, yeah, it's pretty much her testing and judgment through all of this. And if you think you know how it goes, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong.
Right. And obviously, Kieron Gillen has done an interesting job. I don't want to say a good job, but an interesting job of playing with our expectations with some of these characters.
Mm-hmm. I think you're still salty about the Cap judgment.
Of course. Of course I am. I wonder if they left the judgment of some of the characters that were in the tie-in issues that were not written by Kieron Gillen up to those writers, or if Kieron Gillen had as the lead writer of the event, a list of characters that were going to pass or fail.
Yeah, I kind of wondering about that. And even in that, if it's like a group effort or it's just Kieron Gillen, I would love to know the thought processes behind the judgments.
Right. It's almost like, well, these are the characters that we're going to highlight as part of the tie-ins.
Right.
This is where I think their judgments are going to go. What do you think of that? Like as like the lead kind of collaborator on the event. and then having his other collaborators come in and say, all right, so this is how I would tell that story. So, it'd be interesting to see if that's how that actually shook out.
I feel like that's probably the way it happens, but if we ever talk to Kieran Gillen in any fashion, or heaven forbid have him on the show, not heaven forbid, but have him on the show, but I know he's busy right now.
I'll try to talk to him this weekend at New York Comic Con.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we'll talk about New York Comic Con in a while, actually, since that is upon us.
Yep.
Benji Games 2 says he only picked only picked up 3 books, and Earth Divers, TMNT, and Night of the Ghouls. We will talk about one of those books in a while.
Yep.
So the next book we are going to talk about right now, though, is A.X.E. Starfox #1.
So A.X.E. Starfox #1 is also written by Kieran Gillen with art by Danielle Di Niculo, colors by Frank Williams, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So this issue is, I think, the first time we are really getting to see, and I know that Roddykat mentioned this on a previous episode of our show, the true MCUification of one Eros of Titan, aka Starfox. Like it is so evident.
Yes.
Evident is the word to use here. It is so evident that the retooling of the look of Starfox to better resemble the actor that is portraying Starfox in the MCU is much more evident here than it was in the Judgment Day, like the main issues of Judgment Day, where he was, where he played a role, because this is a Starfox centric issue, obviously. So, we get to see Starfox in action, running around doing as much as he can, in lieu of trying to, ensorcel the entirety of Earth with his love power. So he's trying to do whatever he can otherwise to try to help. And we find out, we get a little bit of background in terms of, and I appreciated this, why Starfox is who he is, how he came to be, as well as how he's also alive. Even though we kind of understood it, it was very much laid bare here. Like how what was that event called?
Wait, which one?
Where he basically bites the bullet because they're bringing Thanos back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
It was
know
a
what you're talking about, 'cause
Guardian. It was like a big cosmic. It was like a little mini cosmic event.
Right. It was Guardian,
And-
Silver Surfer, because that's what kicked off before. That's what kicked off Silver Surfer Black, and I can't remember if there was an event name or what it's called actually.
Right. So folks, we apologize. We read a lot of comics, so it's hard to remember some of these things sometimes. But at the end of the day, we get to we get some of those blanks filled in for us through the storytelling, and I appreciate that. I do. I really like that we were given that information. We also get a change in the hierarchy of the Eternals, which obviously had just changed recently. But now we find that Starfox isn't exactly leadership material.
Which
And I will let Roddykat carry on from there.
Yeah, I was about to say, which, if you know anything about the character, you pretty much know that already. But it's nice to know that he admitted to it.
Right.
So, because classically, yeah, this character, has not. Some would say is a return to form of the leadership of the Eternals, as what bore out here. Because he was having a chat with another character whom I'm almost certain we haven't seen throughout this whole thing, and their place within this event and within the Eternals,
right,
kind of take place. So, but yeah, and it, like Agent 70 said, it is good that some things from the past kind of got brought up for Starfox, because, like I said, unless you were reading the Avengers run where he comes in and plays this part in, modern readers wouldn't probably know who this character is at all, outside of the recent MCUification, or the recent MCU
appearances.
entrance. Yeah. So there is that, and I'm not sure where don't know where we're going to see that character. I'm going to assume Eternals 2 is probably the next place we're going to see that character in the MCU anyway, whenever that is. But yeah, like I said, it's a pretty decent tie-in if you are interested in, I guess, they're part of the Eternals that has had some Avengers leaning in it. But outside of that, like, you know, you can kind of, I guess, take it or leave it with the main book if you're paying any attention to the main event. You know. So that being said, we can move on. And actually, I'm slightly going to call an audible here because I know what we said we were going to go to next, but I'm thinking it's probably good to go ahead and tie up that last tie-in book, which kind of isn't a tie-in, but kind of is a tie-in because it's not like it's like direct.
Oh, you mean X-Men Red #7?
Correct.
Sure, I'll hit that real quick, and it'll be it'll go very quickly because ultimately, X-Men Red #7 is written by Al Ewing, art is by Stefano Caselli, colors by Federico Blee, and Proto Bunker's Fer Cifuentes Sujo, and letters by VC's Ariana Maher, I'm sorry. And this story is, kind of tells the arc that is being told on Arakko. And it's important because there are some potentially lasting effects that come out of this Arakko story for the X-Men, specifically the X-Men that were on Mars, now Arakko. And so, there's definitely a sea change in terms of the characters that are primarily, that have been primarily highlighted as part of the Arakko story. And at the end of this issue, we also get some follow-up on the Abigail Brand stuff that's been kind of percolating and slowly simmering through the pages of a bunch of X-Men books, but specifically X-Men Red, since the Keep has, and a lot of the Galactic stuff has started to really come to the forefront as the result of the creation or the colonization, the takeover of Mars. So that is teased at the end of this issue. But this is an important issue if you really want to see what Al Ewing probably is going to, in what direction Al Ewing is probably taking a bunch of these characters who, we've seen a bunch of them because of Ten of Swords, but we don't have the best connection with. We just don't. Granted, it may be because we just read a lot of comics and we're jaded and we're getting too old for this shit. So we don't necessarily have that kind of connection with these Arakko characters. Maybe the young bloods out there who are reading this and not the characters from Rob Liefeld's comic, but maybe the young folks out there who are reading this stuff for the first time may find themselves much more attached to these Arakko characters. But for us, the old heads, it's a little bit harder to generate that level of attachment. I'd say that level of engagement with these characters. So bottom line is, this is probably a very important book to read for fans of the X-Men, but not necessarily for people who want to catch up with what's going on with the Judgment Day, with the A.X.E. Judgment Day crossover.
Right. I can safely say from checking out online anecdotally, yeah, there are some people who are taken with some of the Arakkoans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're new characters, and if they're new to them, they may be the first set of new characters that they've been introduced to in a while or ever as part of being a comic book fan.
Right. And the only thing I'll say before we move on is that, Magneto, and I guess this is a slight spoiler, but, if you've been keeping up, you kind of know, Magneto went out cinematically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And also, I guess I will say is, like, you were talking about the Abigail Brand stuff. Like, yeah, that stuff's been stewing since Empire.
Yep.
So, and which was also Al Ewing, so that makes a lot of sense. So he's, this and another book this week where he's playing with his toys. So
Yes, exactly.
So that being said, though, we can push on to the last book we'll talk about before rapid fire, which is the new #1, Spider-Man #1, adjectiveless Spider-Man #1 at that.
Right. And we're kind of going a little out of order here this week, folks, because in the technical reading order of the lead up to the the end of the Spider-Verse story, which has been teased as starting off in this Spider-Man #1, you should read Edge of the Spider-Verse #5.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about it slightly out of order. Spider-Man #1 is written by Dan Slott with pencils by Mark Bagley, very effective inks by John Dell. I have to tell you, the inking on this book is sharp because I have not seen Bagley's pencils look this tight in a long time. I know that Mark Bagley is one of Tim Dog 98's favorite artists. And for me, I know it's going to be shots fired. Yes, that is a new sound effect, folks, for more shots fired. And let me finish the credits. Colors are by Edgar Delgado, and letters are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. I just said that this issue does kick off the end of the Spider-Verse storyline, and I will let Roddykat take it from there because I do have a question for him that we literally just talked about, or the end of the Spider-Verse, that is, that we talked about just before we started.
Okay, sure. So the basic structure of this, and yeah, and I will agree with H70 about the art because it is pretty clean with the
it's sharp. Like
yeah.
It's like I have not seen Bagley's art look this sharp in a long time, and it's definitely the inker.
Yeah. So shout outs to John Dell. But yeah. So without giving away too much, it is definitely in the current timeline, except for it's not dealing with none of that other stuff, with the baggage that we're not getting from from Amazing. It's dealing with none of that, but we get we
get that it's set in that timeline, though,
right?
Because all of the baggage that comes from the Amazing books continues over into this.
Well, but what I'm saying is, like, the stuff that we really want to know from Amazing, none of that comes out here.
No.
But and it makes sense because once you read about it, and as Agent 70 said, we're knee deep into the end of the Spider-Verse stuff with this issue because we see Peter going along his day, kind of doing his thing, and then halfway in, it pretty much crashes into the Spider-Verse stuff in a way that it was meant to happen, I guess. So, because even I was thinking about it, was like I knew this was coming, and I knew this was Slott killing off the Spider-Verse stuff. But it was like reading this, it was like, okay, this seems to be going along all nice and natural, like a Spider book would, until the shoe drop, and then the shoe drop, and it was the Spider-Verse stuff.
Right.
So, like I said, there was really not much else to say without like spoiling too much. But I will say that I enjoyed reading this. Because Slott, I feel like Slott takes a lot of joy in the Spidey, and I think even if you check him out online, he's even intimated as much coming into this book.
Right.
And of course, he did some things that are reminiscent of other versions of Spidey, including the theme song. I will spoil that one. I love that part. That was so great. I loved
myself singing that.
Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, he did the thing.
I found myself singing that because, folks, and these are just mild spoilers. The OG theme song from the '60s Spider-Man is iconic.
Yes.
And the words that Slott composes to go along with that music really, really fit. And I just got a real kick out of it. As soon as I read it, I started singing it. That's the funniest part.
Exactly. Which I'm sure that was how that was
the intent, right? Exactly. That was clearly the intent on Slott's part.
So, and effectively happened. So, and that part actually made me think about, was like, well, there is a spider person in the universe now that we've met in the last Edge of Spider-Verse book, not issue 5, that I am looking forward to our Peter meeting based off that song.
Right.
So I'll put it that way. But other than that, like I said, we get like I said, we go headlong into Spider-Verse stuff. The only thing I said, I guess, are we still going to talk about Edge? I guess since
yeah, just very quickly.
Okay. So well, I'll say what I was about to say was that, because the only thing I was going to say outside of that was like, man, they were just frivolous with the identities. That I noticed that in this issue as well as like going maskless. Yeah, like this and the Captain America issue this week. Yeah. I was like, what the heck is going on here? I mean, obviously, it's one thing. One thing is very different from the other because Steve Rogers is a public figure. Right. Much like Jennifer Walters is in the MCU now. Mm-hmm. But, there are surveillance cameras. Mm-hmm. It's the MCUification of Spidey. Just come up with a reason to take off the mask, Right. It's like, okay, that's weird. Like, no webbing, no nothing, no Bagman or something. Like, come on, you throw us a bone here. Like, you're just all willy nilly with the thing. Like, all right. Yeah, I know. And people are calling each other by their names. It's like, dude, I mean, granted, you might be able to pick their identities from that, but it's like, somebody. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. What I was referring to earlier when we started the discussion on this book was that I had asked Roddykat whether or not, having now read this issue, the beginning of the event to end the Spider-Verse, whether or not he would actually go back and read the entirety of at least the first Spider-Verse story, maybe not the Spider-Geddon story, but definitely the first Spider-Verse story, and read that. And I'll let him talk more about that. Yeah, and to my answer to Agent 70 was like, yeah, I am still I'm still apt to go back and read that, when I can steal a moment, because it's still that is a fairly thick read, even if I just stick to the direct stuff. Right. Like Edge of stuff, Spider-Verse stuff, I'm pretty sure I read some of that because obviously Spider-Gwen came out of it, so I did read some of that just to see who was coming into play. Right. And there was a particular point that came out in this issue that Agent 70 and I was talking about prior to this, somebody that shows up that has to do with that original run, and yeah, I would definitely still read it based off that, because I knew about that person and their connection to things from that at the very least. Like I have bits and pieces of that run, but I just didn't read the whole thing, all together. So like I said, bits and pieces of it kind of came out, whether by osmosis over me reading something, because I'm like, we had been talking about, this show's been around for a while, so we've definitely talked about Spider-Verse during the course of this podcast. Right. I want to say it was most likely myself and at TimDog98. Possibly, yes. But, more likely than not. I doubt that PCN_Dirt had too much to say about it, but you know what? If we go back into the archives, I may be proven wrong. Maybe. Who's to say? And like I said, I know I was kind of reading Spidey at the time. It's just that, when this event happened, sometimes events kind of coming into the books, whether it's direct or not, tends to... Right. Sometimes it's just a lot. Right. Sometimes keep you on the book or not keep you on the book, depending on the event and... your interest in the event, I guess. Exactly. All right. So I guess now that we were done with that, we're going to spin up the minigun. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Rapid fire, folks.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right. So let me run through my books. Roddykat and I actually have a lot of books in common this week, so rapid fire should cover everything fairly quickly. First up is Batman number 128 with it's written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tomo Mori, and letters by Clayton Cowell. So this is Chip Zdarsky's version of the Tower of Babel storyline, where something Batman has concocted is basically taking himself out as well as the Justice League. Big spoilers right there. So that's the crux of the story. How it happens is interesting, but ultimately, where this story ends up, at least this issue ends up, still leaves a lot of questions left to be answered. So, I'll keep sticking with it, but I feel like this is just a rehashing of that Tower of Babel story. if I recall correctly, that's the story in which Batman came up with a way to defeat the Justice League. You know, like ways to defeat the Justice League as a contingency plans.
Right, and people got a hold of it. Yeah, the crux of it.
Next up is Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty #5. I believe Roddykat also read this. It's written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, former guests of the Comic Book Chronicles. Art by Carmen Carnero, and colors by Nolan Woodard, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So Cap, teaming up with Bucky and his erstwhile nemesis throughout the first 4 issues of this book, team up to take on the Outer Circle, and the at least one part of the power elite, the bad guys that have been kind of lurking in the background in this run of Captain America. And so we get some interesting callbacks to some MCU stuff. Just a little bit. Taking some skydiving, but basically doing a halo jump. High altitude, low opening stuff. If you're not familiar with that particular military acronym. But ultimately, we have a cliffhanger in this issue that what I told Roddykat is a clear setup for the Cold War Captain America storyline that's being announced, that was announced today at New York Comic Con. So I will let Roddykat carry on from there.
Right, and that we had talked about on the show before because we knew it was coming.
Right, yeah. I mean, it was announced before New York Comic Con, but now there's more details as of the announcement today.
Right. So the only thing I'm going to add to this is that, as I say in my notes, and I think Agent 70 will appreciate this. Well, I was going to mention something about that the vehicle that they were in at the beginning of it, because that just reminded me of an old Quinjet. I'm sitting here like, that's what you're doing, huh? But also, that's what
I thought it was.
Right, exactly. And I was like, okay, just call it a Quinjet. You don't have to give it a. This is not the Blackbird. You ain't got to do that. But anyway, like I said, the foes they were fighting, or the particular foes, remind me, including in the name, remind me of Metal Gear Solid characters, basically. And even the name of the group sounds like Metal Gear Solid characters. So I would really love to know from the writers whether that was an inspiration for this and for the event, the upcoming event, or not, because it just seems a little too likely of that case. But as I was going to say,
I apologize. Okay. I was about to say, just hold that thought. I apologize for calling them the Power Elite. That was from the previous run on Captain America. I know I've been saying it, but it feels like this all started to blend together. Yeah, this is that Outer Circle group.
Right. I mean, maybe there's similar intentions.
I'm sorry?
Similar intentions?
Kind of. But at the end of the day, this is something, the Power Elite was when Mephisto was running around, with the Avengers and in Captain America. So I apologize, folks. I've been using that interchangeably for a couple of issues now, talking about Captain America, and that was my bad. So this is what we need our fact checkers for, folks, and sometimes it's just something that needs to be Googled. So I apologize. Carry on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Not big. Like I said, last thing I was just going to say, and like I said, I would just read this directly from my notes. Bucky's not throwing away his shot.
Oh no.
You could take that as figuratively or as literally as you choose, folks, if you really read this. So carry on.
Yeah. Young, scrappy, and hungry, folks. Anyway. Next
not so
up
young,
is
but
Edge
definitely the other two.
What's that?
I said not so young, but definitely the other two.
Right. Next up is Edge of the Spider-Verse #5 of 5. This is our last Edge of the Spider-Verse one-shot. These have been anthology books, and they also serve to be. They have served in the past, these Spider-Verse anthology issues, to introduce characters for the first time. And we do have the introduction of a few characters in this issue. The first is Hunter Spider. It's written by Dan Slott. and JMD Mateus, with art by Bob McLeod, colors by Jim Campbell. The second story is Web Weaver, written by Steve Fox, with art by Kay Zama and colors by Brian Reber. Silly Spider is a short story written by Phil Lord, with art by David Lopez and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna on the entire book, and Chris Iliopoulos of VC. So, as I said, these are intros for various new-ish Spider-Verse type characters. I'm not going to spoil everything, although the name of the first one, Hunter Spider, kind of spoils who that particular spider avatar, spider person is. The new character that was kind of hyped up for this issue was Web Weaver as the first gay Spider-Man. So whether or not that results in increased sales and increased demand for this book, we'll see. But bottom line here is this is the last of the Edge of the Spider-Verse books, and this basically leads directly into Spider-Man #1 that was also out this week. Anything else to add?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It looks like, not to spoil anything, but that the second character, that the gay one, has I kind of like how they did that, because one is not Peter Parker getting the powers. Two, this character, as we said prior to the show, yeah, it is kind of stereotypical in the rendition of the character. But also the interesting thing about it is that they have a relationship, or had a relationship and possible new relationship in a Black Cat-like fashion with a sibling of another Spider character. And I was like, okay, that was a pretty good switch up of things, I will say. Mm-hmm. That last story, I'm not sure what to say about that one, because that one's kind of...
I was weird. I kind of flipped through that. I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly.
Exactly. I felt the exact same way about that. So I just wanted to, at the very least, address that. Hunter Spider, yes, kind of was. Definitely some shades of a classic, or at least part of, as we said prior to the show, knowing the character that is involved. There is definitely shades and homages to
a pretty famous storyline.
Yeah, a pretty famous Spider-Man storyline involving that character, or a version of that character. So that's all I have to say.
No, that's plenty. That is plenty. All right, thank you for that. Next up is Hulk #9. Is written by Donny Cates, with art by Ryan Ottley, inks by Cliff Rathburn, colors by Marte Gracia and Matt Hollingsworth, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So in the wake of the Thor Hulk crossover, the Hulk is now off on his own. I think Roddykat would appreciate how this story has set up, because it is very reminiscent of Star Trek. And what Banner has done to kind of alleviate some of the stresses that have befallen him, there is the pseudo return of a longtime Hulk supporting character, as well as a setup that is not unlike Planet Hulk, but with very big twists to it. So when I initially read it, I was like, oh, this is going to be Cates' version of Planet Hulk. And it is, and it isn't. So we'll see where it goes from here. I am just not a fan of the Ryan Ottley artwork. I know some people are, especially among our esteemed panel. But bottom line here is, it's still interesting to see where Cates is going with this Hulk story. I think that Thor crossover, that Banner of War crossover, was basically filler. It didn't really do much of anything to me. And bottom line is, we have an idea now of what happened to set off the Hulks, and I guess what was revealed as part of Banner of War was what the events that created the impetus for Bruce Banner wanting to leave Earth. We get filled in on that, and we get some more background on that in this issue. So that is just part of this new story arc. All right. Next up is another book I believe Roddykat and I read in common, and it's the last book I have on my list. That is Jane Foster and the Mighty Thor, number 5 of 5. This is the last issue in this little miniseries. It's written by Torunn Grunbeck, with art by Michael Dowling, colors by Jesus Bertov, and Eric Arciniega. I'm fixing Roddykat's typographical errors with these names because they're names I know. And letters are by VC's Joe Sabino. This was a pretty entertaining issue. This was probably the most Thor-like story I've read in a long time. There's plenty of Asgard action. There's, other pantheons of gods involved here. It's just a big melee. There's plenty of things going on that bring some of the dangling plot threads from the first 4 issues of this book, of this miniseries, forward to a semi-satisfying conclusion in this issue. The big bads in this book, one of them is well known to us and is running around in the pages of The Punisher right now. The other one is a little more, let's say a lot more obscure, because when you think of the realm that this character runs around in, you kind of think of Nightmare. But having this character be the character that is, part of the plot, to do ill upon Asgard at the behest of the Enchantress, then it kind of changes things up just a touch, changes expectations to boot. I would say that this issue, this miniseries, is actually pretty important when it comes to tying back into the regular Thor run, because they actually tease it at the end of the book that we're going to have more interactions based off of the developments of the character, the developments that the characters that are in this book undergo in the regular Thor book. So I will let Roddykat fill in his thoughts.
So yeah, it seems, as Agent 70 said, this is definitely going back into the Thor book, as it said, and I'm kind of curious whether the stuff that kind of feels like not necessarily a loose end, but they definitely set this up to be something that's just going to come up at some point, like the stuff with the Enchantress, because she's still kind of running around. This new Dream Queen person, I guess, is still kind of around.
Yeah, I don't think that's a new character, but it's just a more obscure character, because I believe the character that we're used to dealing with in that realm is Nightmare.
Right, that's correct. Yeah.
And to have this other character, and I'm gonna, I'll let you keep talking while I double check this Dream Queen character's origin.
So the only other thing that's left to say is that, if you're a fan of, it has been definitely a good Thor story, even if there are some things that come up in here that you're not familiar with, I will say. But if you are reading Thor, I guess, and probably current Thor, it's going to come back into it and probably play more prominently, as Agent 70 said. There's a boat that shows up, and I was like, and the first thing I thought was, there's no goats.
No, Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder are not there, because in the comics they pull the chariot.
Exactly. But like I said, when the part came when there was a boat involved, I was like, okay, we got another MCU thing going on here.
Right.
Which kind of still was, except for, like I said, minus the ghosts.
Right. You know what?
What's that?
Do you want to know the first appearance of the Dream Queen?
Lay it on me.
The Dream Queen is the daughter of Nightmare, because he basically had unwanted sexual relations with a succubus.
Okay.
Right.
Makes total sense then.
The first appearance of Dream Queen is in Alpha Flight number 56 from November 1987. The writer was Bill Mantlo and the artist was Jim Lee.
So this was a deep cut, basically.
Yeah, it is a deep. I knew I recognized the character. It was just a deep cut.
Mm-hmm.
Deep cut.
Yeah, that was, some would say that's one of the deepest of cuts in this.
I mean,
division.
if like considering that both myself and Roddykat have been reading Marvel comics and comics in general for a long time, we're looking at this like, is this a new character?
But it's since you said it's Alpha Flight, and I don't know where this character's been since then. Like, I don't know if Agent 70 has been reading Alpha Flight all that much since then, but I know I haven't, and I'm almost fairly certain not too many people on the rest of the panel has either. I feel relatively confident. Maybe Tim, but
I mean, I went back and picked up a couple of those Jim Lee issues just for the art.
Right.
This is his stuff pre-X-Men or pre-Punisher War Journal, actually. Right. So, this is, his first ever interior work at Marvel was on Alpha Flight. So, interestingly, it looks like most of the Marvel database on fandom, most of the entry on the Dream Queen has information from Alpha Flight appearances as well as some stuff from Fear itself.
And there would be the other reason.
Right.
Because I remember we talked about Fear itself, and we I don't think there was many. Well, there might have been one fan of Fear itself at the time. Don't get me wrong, love Matt Fraction, but I don't think we kind of went through that one all that well.
Yeah, we kind of skimmed that one, folks.
Yeah.
All right, and that's it for my rapid fire. Moving on to Roddykat.
All right, so first start off with actually I was going to say going back to the Hulk book real quick. So I was reading that Hulk book at the start. So I do recognize the Star Trek the referentials of that. But when Banner War came up, I kind of leaped off of it.
Oh, no, but I mean specifically this issue. You will definitely see the parallels.
Gotcha.
Like once you flip through, you'll be like, "Oh, I completely see it."
Right.
It's so obvious. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I will definitely check it out then. First book for me. That being said, Ant-Man #4 of 4, actually written by I would love to say friend of the show, but that's not true. But who we've been talking about in this particular episode, Al Ewing. With art by Tom Riley, colors by Jody Belair, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So, I'm just going to say, one, it starts off with an info dump, or 2-page info dump, some of which, let's say, hasn't happened quite, quote unquote, yet. Maybe. But it does references a couple of books which I don't remember reading that Al Ewing early, well, I don't want to say early in his career, early in my coming across him, did not read. And I'm not sure why I didn't, because it was dealing with a group that I do read, that being the Avengers. So if you remember, oh shoot, the event, hold on, I'm going to pull it up here real quick. I'm so sorry. Yeah, man. Oh, Ultron Forever. If you remember that little mini event, which I believe it was like 3 one-shots, if I'm from what I've read. So it has to do with that in particular, which again, Al Ewing wrote. So again, he's playing with his toys, and we get to see the origin story of this future Ant-Man, and the mention that his mission that has to do with this Ultron that shows up in this book, or in this particular issue. And it wraps up nice and neat. And I feel like it could have gone one more issue. But they pretty much wrap it all nice and neat. And you also get to see all the previous issues kind of get tied together, outside of the initial the issues themselves. Because, like I said, there's a nice little throughput in there that kind of ties it all together, like I said, with why this new Ant-Man was doing what he's doing, and the fact that he was gathering these other Ant-Man up. So, like I said, it was a fun read, but like I said, over too quick. But like I said, Al Ewing's coming back with a Wasp book that I hope is going to be equally entertaining, I believe in January. So, which may or may not, I don't think it's going to have anything to do with this, but we'll see. These are like 6 celebration issues, so there is that. It was a good job. Love Al Ewing's work. Next book is Magic: The Gathering number 19. Excuse me. As I'm trying to get this covers together. There we go. Written by Jed McKay. Illustrations by Iguara, Jacques Salomon, Breno Tamura. Colors by Adriana Consani, Breno Tamura, and Gloria. Now that is a typo. Wow. Gloria Martinelli. And Protobunkers Fernando Cifuentes. This is a potential click of the week for me because there's basically a big battle between a bunch of, well, it is definitely a battle between a bunch of planeswalkers, both good and evil. So this is kind of like, let's say, the end of Endgame in a sense. Avengers Endgame, because you have the big battle, but the battle's not really over. It kind of just starts, and there's a lot of action going through this. And if you know anything about Magic: The Gathering, the game, this is like obviously set in the world of it, and there are no cards used in the making of this book. So it's just pure action and pure Jed McKay doing some delightful stuff, especially in this issue. Last but not least is pardon me, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures number 1, I believe of 3, but I don't have confirmation of that. I just saw 3 issues out there though, or yeah, 3 issues out there. So there we go. So if you are familiar with the last time the Saturday Morning Adventures, which I guess is going to be a line now, I don't know if that's going to be the case or it's going to end with this. The last Saturday Morning Adventures book was the G.I. Joe one that we talked about some months back, and it was good, pure fun. This one is similar because it is based in the world of the 1980s cartoon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And let's just say there are a lot of references, and as a well, I won't spoil what someone's going to say about this book outside of this, but it is a pure fun. It is kind of pure nostalgia, also in cases if you're looking close enough, and it is a treat, just like the G.I. Joe one was. This particular issue has to do with, let's say, video games, particularly virtual reality, and in and around that. And I won't go too much further than that. But so there is a lot of fun that they kind of take liberty with in that vein. And it seems to be a one-shot story, but I don't know if this is going to play into the next issue of the thing, because it seemed like it just kind of ends there as just like an episode of the show would. Unlike the G.I. Joe Saturday Morning Adventures did, because it was pretty much one story. It was told in 3 issues. That could still hold out here, but I'm not entirely certain the way this ended that is the case. I would say if you enjoyed the Turtles and that version of the Turtles, I think you will enjoy this book. That being said, that's is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
So yeah, so I pretty much went ahead and, matter of fact, I can keep this up because Dirt's pick was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures number 1. He says that.
See how that worked out, folks?
Yeah, no, it's just lovely, nice. You love it when the plan comes together. He basically just says too many smiles with that one, and I agree with him on that one because the references and everything was just which is great. It's good fun, and it's definitely reminiscent enough, with the exception of probably one thing I would take issue of, but it's pretty much reminiscent of that version of the Turtles enough to be very enjoyable. In fact, I'm still slightly thinking about it, but that's probably going to be my click of the week also. But we'll see in a second. You got yours, or?
I am thinking. So I'll tell you where my thinking is right now. It's kind of in between Jane Foster and the Mighty Thor. Surprise, surprise. Because I just liked, I really liked the way this issue left some things unanswered, as we said earlier, to be followed up on in other books and or stories, probably Thor related, as well as just how where the characters kind of found themselves, especially Jane Foster and Thor at the end of the 5 issues. So I really enjoyed that part of the story. I actually also enjoyed Spider-Man #1, despite my misgivings about Mark Bagley's art. As Roddykat mentioned, Slott, for all the crap that he takes from a lot of people, and we I think also both agree that he probably stayed on Amazing just a little too long, but he has a passion for the Peter Parker character, and this story is obviously something that has been hatched from his crazy mind, because it has to deal with all the Spider-Verse stuff. And I think what clinches Spider-Man #1 for me is the Hyphen Man song.
Yes, and me for the same reason.
So is that your pick also?
No, I'm teetering kind of between those two. The Turtles, like I said, they're both fun books, and they're both fun for their albeit kind of similar reasons.
Right.
So, but you're saying adjectiveless Spider-Man is yours?
No, Spider-Man #1. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a much more complete book than Edge of the Spider-Verse #5. So. Yeah,
and as we know about those Edge of the Spider-Verse books, they are pretty much intros to new characters and not necessarily stories per se, or a complete story per se. Like there has been some story that's kind of blended in some of them, like, or at least the main story that we're getting into now kind of blended in.
Exactly. And anyone who has read the previous versions of Edge of Spider-Verse, or Edge of Spider-Geddon, any of those Edge books knows that a lot of these anthology stories basically weave the characters that are introduced in these books into the greater story, into the greater narrative.
Right. No pun intended.
Yes, weaving spiders, folks. Come on.
Indeed. So yeah, like I said, this is a hard one because of the fact that they were both good books. Like even Ant-Man was a pretty good book this week, but it's definitely between those two. But at this, I'm going to go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures. So. Indeed, and you might not know it, but you just made me think of Halo. So thank you for that one. Every time I hear that sound effect. And with that, folks, because I
think of at Eclectic. Shout out to Eclectic.
Right, because he uses that in his podcast. So yeah, I get that as well. But yeah, we're going to go on to the news section because we did not get a click from Tim. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And we start off with cinematic news, as we do about this time. Elizabeth Olsen wants the Scarlet Witch to team up with the X-Men now that Hugh Jackman is bringing Wolverine to the MCU. There's really not much to say about that, but I have to read this part of his article. So basically, it looks like so here's the thing. Scarlet Witch, aka Elizabeth Olsen was on some show for DirecTV at Variety's Power of Women that happened, I believe, last week, and she, as this article says, expressed shock over the revelation that Hugh Jackman is in the MCU, and there's a quote here that says, "Oh really? Wow." And which reminds me of that Hamilton quote, that's the soundbite that
Awesome. Wow.
right. It kind of sounded like that. So the way this sounds when she say that, it kind of makes me think she already knew this was the case well before this. But she goes on to say, "I guess Wolverine is X-Men," she said. "And it would be cool to work with a lot of those people from the X-Men franchise. I guess Fassbender is my dad in some world." Which I was like, if you had said Patrick Stewart, I'd have given you way more props to that. I'm not saying Fassbender's version is not good, but I'm just saying, come on.
Oh, you mean Ian McKellen?
Yes, Ian McKellen, excuse me. But I'm thinking about that version of the X-Men. Yes.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it.
Yeah. But nevertheless, hey, it is what it is. So I don't know whether we ever see that kind of whether we see that put together, whether we'll see House of M. I kind of doubt it, because that would be the perfect part. That would be the perfect thing of that. But who's to say? The future is out there. Next up.
All right. So Marvel newcomer Dominique Thorne discussed the significance of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever being a vehicle for Riri Williams' live action debut. So, the actress thinks that Riri Williams will be right at home in the movie. And she says there couldn't be a safer runway for Riri to come into her genius and her superherodom than in the world of Wakanda, which is known as being a haven for Black brilliance, the actor told Empire magazine. Sounds like a good idea to me. I will also mention in passing that thanks to a good and very just kind friend, I have now gotten my tickets for Wakanda Forever for next month.
Well, we were getting to that, but yeah, since that's that. I hadn't gotten mine yet, but that's coming. Next up, though, Black Panther 2 honors Anika's Marvel comic book story with some updates. So, it says here, the inclusion of Anika in Marvel's Black Panther Wakanda Forever will draw plenty of inspiration from the comic books while still keeping things fresh. Ryan Coogler says that, in a recent feature for Empire magazine, director Ryan Coogler spoke on how the Marvel Cinematic Universe blockbuster would draw from 2018's World of Wakanda comic penned by Roxane Gay and Ta-Nehisi Coates, and focus heavily on Anika. Quote, "I think people who know the books will be pleasantly surprised on how faithful we are to them," Coogler said, "but also deviate from it in exciting ways as well. And Michaela Cole just fit right in with the group. It was like she's always there, and I'm excited to see her and her version of Anika. I'm just going to say that as a fan of hers." Yeah. Says here, the sentiment is echoed by Winston Duke, who plays M'Baku. And he spoke on the differences between the two films, saying that this narrative has evolved and it's changed, just like all of the characters and the circumstances of Wakanda itself. So for me in particular, I just had to let go of the expectations of this being anything like the first movie and allow this movie to be its own thing, which I'm pretty sure he said out on the internet prior to this also. Next up.
So, as I just mentioned, the tickets for Black Panther are now available for sale for Wakanda Forever. That is, are now available for sale. In conjunction with that was the release of the second trailer, the second like official trailer for the movie, and I don't have much to say about it because I chose not to watch it. Now we are a month away from the movie. I don't want to know anything more about this movie. I'm going to walk in as surprised as I can be. So walk in to be surprised as I can be.
Right.
So I think Roddykat echoes my sentiments there.
Yep. I did not watch the trailer, even though I kind of wanted to, but and I haven't, like I said previously, I don't have my tickets yet, but I plan to soon. Hopefully, I'm trying to see if my wife's going to be off that day, but that's kind of a whatever. Even if not, I'll go again. So we'll see how that works out.
Right.
Speaking of the Black Panther, there's going to be a Black Panther double feature with the original Black Panther movie returning to theaters with Wakanda Forever. So basically, let's see, AMC theaters, and I think we already said the tickets out. If what we were saying previously is not.
Yeah, I literally just said it.
Clear. Yeah. So AMC Theaters is hosting a one-night only double feature fan event on Thursday, November 10th, which technically that's the day that Wakanda Forever is going to come out, but not officially, making attendees amongst the first to see Marvel Studios' Black Panther Wakanda Forever. With a total, we don't need to go through all of that. So basically, fans who purchase Black Panther tickets to AMC will receive an exclusive double-sided Made in Wakanda coin commemorating Black Panther and Black Panther 2. And of course, you can go check all that out on AMC's website. I'm sitting here thinking, I don't like the AMC theater here near me, because it's definitely not the one I normally go to. But I would almost pretty much go sit through that, except for the fact that I have the first movie here. So,
right, I was gonna say, I'm like, if you were closer to a metropolitan area, you would have more of a choice.
Yeah, I mean, we technically we got a couple of close. I just have to travel for one of the other ones. But yeah, the two near me, the one I frequent is like right down the street.
Right.
Very cozy. Anywho, next up,
Werewolf by Night introduces an important new world to the MCU. So it's essentially going to introduce, it's another one of those articles that gives an entirely long, drawn out title to Kevin freaking Feige.
Yes.
All right. So the bottom line here is that Kevin Feige stated that the upcoming Halloween Werewolf by Night special would be introducing a world that will ultimately become quite important to the future of the MCU. So it's basically a giant mashup love letter, as described by director Michael Giacchino, to all the old movies he grew up on, while Elsa Bloodstone actor Laura Donnelly called it something brand new that had previously not been seen in the MCU. So it's definitely fun, frightening. It's a fun and frightening spin on the supernatural. And that's the addition to the MCU that Werewolf by Night is going to bring.
And I feel like that last Doctor Strange movie kind of introed that. Just a tad.
Yeah, kind of broached the topic, right?
Damn it, Raimi. But I don't know. Do you have any theories as to what this world could be?
I mean, werewolves, vampires, all that stuff. I mean, it's been tangentially touched upon, but now we're going to go full bore into it.
Yeah. But I'm kind of wondering, giving a character that's going to show up with it, I wonder if they meant world as in like an actual place also.
Possibly.
And if you're watching the video version, you know enough about the character that's in that particular tweet, you may know what I'm talking about or may not. We'll see. But we'll just kind of keep it at that. Next up, WandaVision star Emma Caulfield returning for Agatha Coven of Chaos. So yeah, folks know Emma Caulfield from playing Anya in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But I can't speak tonight. What's going on? Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But folks more recently know her from Dottie, Sarah, and WandaVision. Which I gotta admit, it kind of took me a second to recognize her because she looks a little different from her Anya character in this. But nevertheless, this week, this was the story that other part of the story that I saw. This week, Caulfield revealed that she has been diagnosed with MS, but the announcement was also accompanied by some good news because she will be reprising her role as Dottie in Agatha Coven of Chaos.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
The MS diagnosis. That.
Yeah. Quote, truthfully, my attitude is not crumbling under the fear of what if or what can or what has for other people. I just have to keep going, Caulfield told Entertainment Weekly. So I think she said something like, well, she wanted to give, here we go. I was trying to think of a way that I could give you something, but I think Marvel fans are just very smart, and I think they're very, very thorough. So they are very detailed and they pay attention to absolutely everything. And the understanding from the get-go of this whole setup that nothing is exactly what it seems. Taking that and inhabiting the space. I just think that's the only space you can be in when dealing with the show. And I'm just going to add here, Marvel snipers are about. So she probably.
That's right. That's right. Watch out for the Marvel snipers. Ceasefire. I said ceasefire.
Sometimes they don't listen. They got the things in their ears that just, man, crazy. Next up, though.
All right. So, Sony's new Spider-Man spin-off movie gets a director. And the movie I'm speaking about is El Muerto. And it officially taps Desierto filmmaker Jonas Cuarón to helm the Bad Bunny starring movie. And that's all I have to say about that.
Honestly, I would add who, but also why.
I'll throw that in, folks. I will throw that in.
Who? Like, don't get me wrong, I do know who Bad Bunny is, but it's still the who and the why.
Yep.
For me. So, nevertheless. Next up, though, Star Wars Andor's Diego Luna shoots down Rogue One ending rumors. So, just a short thing. I think there's been rumors that there might be an alternate ending to Rogue One floating about somewhere. And I guess that might be people projecting their wants for it. I don't know what's the case. But apparently, Diego Luna said... so this is basically the reason why I was happy to play this role. And there's been a lot. I mean, I remember people saying we shot different endings. And just to be clear, the day I was offered this role, I knew this was it. It was one film, and I knew what the end was going to be. And it's one of the things that excited me the most that Star Wars was going to do, was going to show what sacrifice means and was going to go for it. So basically, he just kind of put down the fact that, no, there was no other endings that people might be thinking. This is a clue, folks.
Right.
Although they do, that does happen, but this seems to be the case here. But, But just to put it out back at them, maybe that he's lying because he's asked to. Anyway, moving right along.
That's funny.
Nice.
Anyway, so next up, the Batman prequel series Gotham. I don't want to say it's finally streaming on HBO Max, but it is now streaming on HBO Max. I never watched this show. I know people liked it.
Yep, me.
Roddykat's one of them.
Yeah.
But now it is now streaming on HBO Max together with all of the other DC and Batman related shows with other DC and Batman related shows.
Right. For however long HBO Max is going to exist.
Oh no.
Just stand there and you're
sorry. That's what I meant to hit.
I mean, actually, that other one probably is kind of applicable to something. Just stand there and take it. But yeah, I like Gotham. Gotham was kind of batshit in parts. Like that first season, when Jada Pinkett Smith was on, that was pretty good, and then it kind of laxed a little bit. But then it really got kind of crazy.
Oh, that's right. She was on that show. She was playing
Fish Mooney, which I believe.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, which I believe was a new character.
Or an adaptation of a couple of characters.
Possibly, yes, but I still, to this day, I don't think I've figured out which ones that might have been. But yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you kind of take a stab at that one, but anyway. Nevertheless, yeah, like I said, that show got kind of crazy, but that was the good part about it. So yeah, it's all on HBO Max now, so you can check it out. Next up, Supernatural's Misha Collins poses as Gotham Knight's future Two-Face. Misha Collins has shared a new look of his version of Gotham City's District Attorney Harvey Dent. The image shows the actor in character as Harvey Dent, pointing to the upcoming superhero drama series' logo emblem for the Gotham City Police Department. Which, now that I think about it, there was a Gotham City Year 1 book that came out this week that I almost checked out, and I did not. But anyway, quote, "This is my new place of employment," Collins wrote in that community text, which was then reshared on Twitter. "In Gotham, I'm finding that the criminals are ruthless, but the tailored suits are actually quite nice." So I don't think there's another picture. Yeah, there we go. There's a picture of Collins, if you're watching the video version, pointing at the Gotham City logo, like I said. Next up.
Yeah, this is a video game, right?
Well, there is a video game. Yes, this is a video game. This is a show based in the world of the video game.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I lose track of all that insanity, folks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, more insanity. Titans debuts season 4's bloody villain. Meet Mother Mayhem. So HBO Max released the first look at Franca Potente as Mother Mayhem, who will appear as one of several villains in season 4 of DC's Titans. Ladies and gentlemen and good folks of the fandom of the Comic Book Chronicles, I have long ago jumped off the Titans. Forget bandwagon. I just jumped off that show completely. So, listen, if you're still on it, good for you. You know, I hope that they land that bird strong.
Yes. Next up, boop. The Walking Dead Dead City reveals first look at Maggie and Negan's spinoff. So that train is still undying, apparently. It says here, if the Walking Dead's Rick and Michonne series is an epic love story, quote unquote, the spinoff show partnering Maggie and Negan is an epic hate story. The Walking Dead Dead City, renamed from the Isle of the Dead, teams frenemies Maggie and Negan, who travel together in a post-apocalyptic Manhattan long ago cut off from the mainland. Quote unquote, the city is filled with the dead and the denizens who have made New York City their own world of anarchy, danger, beauty, and terror. Which probably can describe New York as it is current. I'm just kidding, Agent 7.
Shots fired, yo.
AMC describes the Walking Dead spinoff, which reveals its first look during the AMC Network's summit. Yeah, so if you're still watching Walking Dead, and I do know one or two people who are, good.
More power to you.
Yeah, exactly. Next
More power to you. That's it. All right, next up. Where were we? I'm sorry, I scrolled down a little bit, folks. So, Prime Video has announced that all 25 James Bond films will soon call the streaming service home. As detailed by The Hollywood Reporter, all 25 James Bond films, including the franchise's most recent installment, No Time to Die, will be available to stream on Prime Video in celebration of the James Bond franchise's 60th anniversary since Dr. No released on October 5th. So it should be available now.
They are. As a matter of fact, I have seen that myself in the last day or two.
Yeah, I was about to say, I saw the, what was I watching on Prime?
Rings of Power, probably.
What's that?
Rings of Power, probably.
No. I'm talking about within the last day or two. Like I turned it on I turned on Amazon Prime to watch something. It'll come to me in a second. But at the end of the day, I did see the ad saying, "Oh, I know what. I was watching Thursday Night Football tonight.
Oh, right. Sure. Okay.
I turned it on. It was Thursday Night Football is streaming on Amazon Prime nowadays.
It is.
And so I'm like, wait a second. I literally just saw this like earlier today. Like it had to be, obviously within the last day or two.
Right.
Because today, our date of recording is the 6th. So at the end of the day, interestingly, Prime's recent acquisition follows Amazon's deal to purchase MGM, the studio, for $8.45 billion in May 2021.
So, well, I get to this at the end of this next article. So I know the James Bond films are dated and misogynistic in any number of terms you could use from, but I still love a lot of those movies for what they are.
Right.
That being spy movies and, whatever. The rest of that still doesn't kind of hold up, but hey.
Right. It's hard what I was going to say is it's hard to demand more of them.
Right.
Especially the older ones.
Right, because they were done in a time and a place, and they
exactly they're a product of their time.
Exactly. So they're still good. I still consider them good for that. And I know Tim was a James Bond fan, so I was gonna ask him if he probably already knows they're out there. He probably already has them in there, just like
I was about to say I fluctuate. I definitely watched a good number of them, my fair share.
Right.
But I wouldn't say that I'm like the biggest fan.
I think the only ones I haven't seen, actually, now that I think about it, were probably the last two, maybe three.
The most recent Daniel Craig. Okay.
Yeah, because I seen Skyfall. I think that might have been the last one. I think the ones that came after that, I have not seen yet. But now that they're there, I can. Anyway, next up. Rings of Power revealed Galadriel's skill and Mithriel's origin. That this is a spoiler for 2 episodes ago, folks. So so chill. Actually, well, it's I guess the last episode, not this past one, but the episode 5, I guess. But it kind of started in episode 4, so let's just go ahead and say that. Well, I still won't necessarily go too far into this, but we alluded to a material that shows up in this book that is prominent in the world of Fellowship age, let's say, which is the 3rd age. So we'll just keep it like that. And it seems to be the point, like I said earlier, that this the show is going to be running some part around as an item of note and want, put it that way. So, like that, we'll leave it at that. But I wanted to say before we move on to the next one is that there is an article, if you are so inclined, in the clickbait section of the show notes that speaks of what we just mentioned about Amazon and their gamble, as it says in the article, for Rings of Power and the plan for MGM's integration. So, and the Amazon Studios head is the one that was being interviewed for that. So you should probably check that out if you are interested in hearing what she has to say about the plans for Rings of Power and MGM. So next up.
So, interestingly, it was announced that season 2 of Lord of the Rings of Power has already started filming. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Prime Video's the showrunner from Prime Video, Patrick McKay, promises fans that this second season will be better than season 1. It'll be bigger and better on every level by an order of magnitude. Okay. So it's already started filming in studios outside of London, which switches things up from season 1's New Zealand location, which will likely lower the ridiculous production costs from season 1.
Mm-hmm. Which, again, that article that I just mentioned kind of goes into that. So next up, though, Berserker writer teases script completion on Keanu Reeves' film. So I think we may have talked about the fact that Berserker, and that is BRZ RKR, and not My Love for You is like Berserker. But that is the Keanu Reeves co-written book that Agent 70 has been talking about for the past couple of months.
Right. I have been following this book, so.
So yeah, the screenwriter Maddie Matson Tomlin says that basically the script's complete. I'm going to actually take this next one if you don't mind, because
it wraps right in with your story.
Yeah. So it says here is that basically Tomlin tweeted that the script is finished, including the final page of the script, which features the classic cut to black, the end. He also added the image of the title page, and you can check out the tweet in the article, the show notes, of which he does just that. And following up on that, apparently Keanu Reeves is considering directing Berserker's comics movie adaptation. He says that depending on how things go, there is a distinct possibility that he will end up directing Berserker, the upcoming live-action film, based on the comic book that he's, as I said, co-writing. During an interview with Collider, Reeves discusses Netflix film adaptation, the script for which is, as I said, just completed, and with a quote that says, "I got it yesterday or 2 days ago. I haven't read it. I can't do a good Keanu Reeves, but just imagine, if you will. Theater of the mind, folks." Yeah. The actor added that it's still a bit too early days to consider a director, though confessed that he's considering helming the film himself. In fact, according to Reeves, there's currently a 33% chance that he will direct the Berserker the movie. So,
and to that, all I say is,
whoa. Now, this article, yeah, no, right, that's perfect. The article goes on to say that the first and only date that film that Keanu has directed was 2013's Man of Tai Chi, which he was also in. He wasn't necessarily the star, but he was definitely in it. I'll put it that way. It was good. I enjoyed that movie. I was actually kind of want to go back and watch that movie again. So, and then he goes on to talk about that movie a little bit during the course of the thing. So it's not like he hasn't directed a thing before. Just to put a point to that. Next up.
Alrighty, next up, Scott Snyder, Francesco Francovia's new horror comic lands a feature film deal. So this is a comic book series called Night of the Ghoul, and it is headed for a cinematic treatment according to Deadline. So 20th Century Studios acquired the screen rights to Night of the Ghoul, and let's see here. Some people are attached to produce. Okay, and that's it.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure we'll see it at some folks, some ways. Star Trek's 10 original movies are no longer streaming anywhere, apparently, and I have, at the very least, confirmed that they weren't on Paramount Plus, which you would think would be the place they would be. So yeah, it says here November 2021. Well, it basically go back into the history of it and blah, 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 blah. The shows are still on Paramount Plus, by the way, just the movies for some reason, with the exception of the newer, the Kelvin Timeline movies for some odd reason. I'm not sure why, and I don't believe, let's see, as it says here, as for the other films, chances are they will be streaming again somewhere in a month or two, perhaps even back on Paramount Plus. It says here, according to this article, these coming and goings are related to the streaming deals that predate the current streaming wars, where most major studios have their own proprietary streaming platform. Excuse me, it's the same reason Marvel movies occasionally leave Disney Plus and show up on another service like Netflix. But again, Paramount Plus is Star Trek, which is a Paramount property. I mean, I still get it, but it's like, that seems still kind of crazy to me. But that's right. That's how
kind of a natural fit that they're just foregoing.
Right. So, but yeah, like I said, they'll probably be back at some point. But if not, I mean, well, I'm sure if you're a Star Trek fan, and if I've said Star Wars, which I'm apt to do sometimes, then you know I meant Star Trek. But you probably already have either the DVDs or the Blu-ray, so I'm pretty sure you'll be good for the time being until they get back to a streaming service. Or if you got them on Vudu or something like that. Not an endorsement, just saying. Next up.
Hi. Where's William Bruce West when I need him? Original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers David Yost and Walter Emmanuel Jones confirmed that they will return to celebrate the series' 30th anniversary. 30th anniversary?
Mm-hmm.
Goodness gracious.
And the Super Sentai is way older, so you know.
I mean, you know.
Oh, I'm tired again!
Boy, I'm getting too old for this shit.
You know what I'm saying? That's all I have to say. This is the first Blue Ranger in the American adaptation, and the first Black Ranger. Those are the two actors I just spoke of.
Correct. And it's good to see David Yost back, because I know he's been away from the well, I think he's been here and there because of, you know, past things, with that we won't necessarily go into, but it's good to see him back here with the franchise and such now. So, and I know Walter Manuel Jones has kind of been out there for a minute, so but it's still good, you know, to see Zach out there, still repping the Rangers of old. Rest in peace, the Yellow Ranger 3 Tran.
Yep.
Kingdom Hearts animated pilot might finally see. I feel like, no, you know what? Yeah, spin up the anime corner.
Oh, here we go.
For the record, Kingdom Hearts, in my opinion, does not warrant that, but nevertheless, we're just going to go into it anyway. I'm just saying, it's anime-like, but it's very much not. So,
right.
Apparently 20 years ago, Disney produced a pilot for a Kingdom Hearts animated series, but the project never saw release. Thank goodness. That could change in the near future, as executive producer Seth Kearsley has discussed the possibility of releasing the unfinished animatic online. Kearsley was in a near-fatal car accident earlier this year and says that Kingdom Hearts is, quote-unquote, is one of those projects I would have been bummed if no one ever saw it. Kearsley will be releasing a video about the pilot next week, which I guess might possibly be this week, considering this article is a few days old. But I don't think that has happened yet. Let's see. We'll see about dropping the pilot the week after. So I guess next week, the actual next week, as of this recording. So yeah, the end of the tweet he says that about that is that. So Kingdom Hearts fan, I guess be on the lookout like you tend to do anyway. Next up.
All right. Shenmue the Animation, Adult Swim's co-production Shenmue anime with Crunchyroll has been canceled. Whoa.
Yeah.
Season 2 was reportedly already in the works before the cancellation, and the news was shared Wednesday via Twitter. Last Wednesday, via Twitter, by Jason DeMarco, the Senior Vice President of Action and Anime Programming for Warner Discovery. Oh, Warner Discovery strikes again.
Yep.
This was an anime adapting the cult classic Sega game, which was first announced back in September 2020 and then aired in February this year. So season 1 has already been removed from Adult Swim. Wow. And other streaming sites, but as of this writing, will continue to be available on Crunchyroll. Okay.
Yeah, and I watched some of that, and I would dare say it's about as slow as the video game.
Okay. I know that. I know. I had a family member that tried to get me to play Shenmue because he loved the game.
Mm-hmm. I believe one Classic Materia may enjoy those games. Also, I don't want to put words in his mouth. He's not here, but I remember seeing him referring to them on his Twitter. So, by the way, shout out to Classic for his pending nuptials.
Yeah, congratulations, OJ Purple Stuff.
Indeed. But next up, the high card. Oh wait, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you got it.
Oh, okay.
Got the fruit baskets one.
Joy. Oh wait. Oh, I think I got
because I
on that.
Shenmue.
Right. That Bleach thing, I keep forgetting about that's going to be a thing, but we'll get to that in a second, I think. High Card Anime reveals more cast members, opening song artist. And I just reminded myself that I totally did not watch the last episode, the last episode of Spy X Family.
Oh, the new one from this past week.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm ahead of Roddykat.
I just
one of the few times, folks. One of the few times. I always like to tease him on this.
Yeah, because I was thinking I was trying to catch up on Rings of Power, so I was like, let me just go ahead and get through this before I hit that. And it was like, even though I could have done it anyway. Kadokawa revealed more cast members for the anime of the poker-themed high card multimedia project on Friday. The staff also previously announced the opening theme song artist. The new cast members include some people I won't actually get into, but basically there's They talk of characters in this, and their roles in this, and also the voice cast. So, like I said, we're not going to go through all of that, but apparently, this has to do with gambling, card games, which that is escaping me at this moment. Kakigure, I think is the one. Sounds like it's along those lines, which I still haven't seen yet. Nevertheless, moving right along. Next up.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm up to date. I did watch the latest episodes of Spy X Family and the beginning of the new season of My Hero Academia this past Saturday.
Nice.
And I think it's this coming weekend or early next week when Chainsaw Man starts?
The 10th. So that's
Monday.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, next week.
I believe it is the 10th. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Which is weird. It's a Monday, but hey, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. All right. So is it my story? It my story now?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Fruits Basket prequel film finally lands a streaming deal. So Crunchyroll announces the prequel film to the anime series Fruits Basket Prelude will join its streaming library on October 6th, 2022, which means as of the recording of this show today, it is now there. Mm-hmm. I mean,
this would not be on Agent 70's list.
Who? Like I said.
I know there are people who like Fruits Baskets, because that's the reason why I put it in there. I can't say that I'm one of them, but in fact, I think I've only probably watched an episode or two. But, there are fans out there, so. Tiger and Bunny Season 2 readies for Part 2 with new Netflix trailer. I think this is another one I've only seen like one episode or two of, and it just so happened to be out there. But Tiger and Bunny 2 is returning for episodes 14 through 25 on October 7th, so that is tomorrow as of this initial recording. And to celebrate, Netflix has dropped a new trailer teasing what's to come in the new episodes. As for what to expect in the second half of the second season, Netflix teases it as such, quote unquote, fighting for peace, and their sponsors, The Odd Couple, Wild Tiger, and Barnaby, will continue to work as superheroes. But with the number of superheroes increasing around the world, how will these two veterans fare? Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
Yes, I do know enough about Tiger and Bunny to know that there is a superhero thing, but it's kind of like the commoditizing of superheroes, I believe. Something along those lines. So, yeah. Might be something for people alley. I'm sure there are fans. Next up.
All right. Bandai Namco Filmworks announced at its Gundam Conference Autumn 2022 event last Thursday that Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury, the first new Gundam television anime series in 7 years, will air its second core a quarter of a year in April 2023. The second core will premiere in the same Sunday 5:00 p.m. time slot on MBS and TBS, where its first core will premiere this past Sunday. So when it says TBS, is that TBS like Turner Broadcasting, or is that a Japanese network?
I believe that's a Japanese network.
Okay. I was about to say, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize TBS did it like that.
Yeah, Tokyo Broadcasting.
There it is. There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, because I thought about that for a second when I first saw it. I was like, wait, no, it ain't not on Turner. But although Turner, to be fair, I think that's where I saw like Voltron and Battle of the Planets. Or actually,
yeah, I mean, if you had access to it back in the day,
I did.
Here in the city, it was on syndication on a local TV station.
Right. Actually, it wasn't Battle of the Planets. It was technically Gotcha Man, but I don't think it was Battle of the Planets from the Saturday morning version. We won't get into that because that's a whole long drawn out. Go check out the Toy Galaxy on that whole thing. But next up, we are going to go into the manga section. New Mobile Suit Gundam Crossbone Gundam manga from Yuichi Hasegawa debuts in October. So, as detailed on Anime News Network, Hasegawa's new series will be serialized in Gundam Ace magazine and revolve around the titular Karis, who is an agent of the Jupiter Empire. In the Crossbone Gundam universe, the Jupiter Empire is an autocratic military regime and the main antagonist group of the series. Guess what, folks? It's a Gundam series, so you know there's going to be some... So it sounds like it's pretty much one of those. Don't get me wrong, I love Gundam shows, so I'm not knocking it, but I'm just saying it's pretty much going to be somebody fighting against some either for and or against some military figures.
There it is.
But this is going to be launched on October 26th, so look out for that. Next up.
The official Twitter account for the Bungo Stray Dogs franchise announced this past Thursday that Kafka Asagiri and Sango Harukawa's Bungo Stray Dogs manga will go on hiatus due to, quote, certain circumstances, unquote. The manga will not have a chapter in the upcoming November issue of Kadokawa's Young Ace magazine on October 4th. Okay.
Bungo Stray Dogs is a good anime. I enjoyed the first part of that. I need to go back and finish it because it took a turn. And
okay.
Basically like a time jump or something. I don't remember what happened, but I was like, wait, what? Where are the other people? But it was good though. So next up, what is going on with these pages? Hypnosis Mike Division Rap Battle Side DH and BAT manga. That's a mouthful. Launches new series. So this year's October issue of Koden Shah's Shonen magazine Edge announced on September 15th a new manga in the Hypnosis Mike franchise. And I already gave the title, so I will not do it again. The manga will launch in the magazine's November issue, which will ship on October 17th. Hypnosis Mike Division Rap Battle is in, for lack of a better word, interesting anime. It says rap battle in the name, but it's kind of more like boy bands. And that's where it gets kind of funny. Because there is some rapping.
I was about to say, I don't think Roddykat has ever watched 8 Mile, so it's less 8 Mile than, one of those reality battle boy band shows, I guess.
I've seen a little bit of 8 Mile, and yeah, you are correct.
There it is.
Like I said, there is some... Yeah, it's a world where they outlawed guns, and the only battles, as tends to happen in anime like this, are done over them on the mic. A la card games or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of amusing on that front because I watched a couple of episodes, but like I said, it kind of goes more boy band than not. JoJo, Attack on Titan.
Oh no, I was about to say that's my story. What are you doing?
Okay. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Because I had it queued up.
Go for it. Hit it.
Anime scriptwriter Yasuko Kobayashi and artist Saki Nonoyama launched a new manga titled Danzai Lock, 6 Wards of Punishment, in other words, in Kodansha's Comic Days app on this past Tuesday, 2 Tuesdays ago actually. Kobayashi is penning the story while Nonoyama is drawing the art. So Kobayashi is the anime writer for both JoJo Bizarre Adventure anime and Attack on Titan.
JoJo's. So yeah, I'm sure there will be people checking that out. Fushigi Yuki prequel Byako Senki to resume after 4-year hiatus. So yeah, Yu Watase's Fushigi Yugi sequel by Senki, like I said, will resume publications. When? What date? Does it say here? It does not say here, but it's coming back basically. Oh, fall 2023. Looks like. And it looks like there will be another chapter in November of this year to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Fushigi Yugi. I can pretty safely say that this is another anime that would not be on Agent 70's list. But yeah, apparently this prequel began serialization in Monthly Flowers in August 2017. But due to the writer's mangaka's health, issues. The series went on hiatus a year later in 2018 of the same month. The announcement of this upcoming return occurred during the 30th anniversary celebration of the namesake comic. So there you go. I feel like I've seen one of them, but I haven't seen all of them. But yeah, it's something. Next up.
Splatoon manga resumes with Splatoon 3 game content. So the manga temporarily ended in the December issue of the magazine last November, where it teased that the manga will soon feature content related to Splatoon 3. So this is a video game?
So
Splatoon shooter series?
Yeah, Splatoon 3 is a Nintendo video game.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a good thing. I want to get it. And apparently there's been a manga out for like a good minute, and this is just catching up to the current game, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, what is going on with these tabs? Disney Twisted. Yeah, I was trying to get it to load back up again. Disney Twisted Wonderland, the comic. Wow, this is a long episode of Heartseeable manga ends in the next chapter. So this is a Square Enix joint. The October issue of Square Enix's monthly G Fantasy magazine revealed last Friday, or I guess a couple of Fridays ago, that Wakana Hazuki and Sumire Kawana's Disney Twisted Wonderland, the comic episode of Heartseeable manga will end with its next chapter in the magazine's next issue on October 18th of this year. The manga's third compiled book volume revealed on July 27th, that the manga will end with its fourth volume this winter. And then it goes into when it started and all like a good mess. So, next up.
Marvel Tales Anthology celebrates Avengers 2, Wonder Man, and Beast. So this is going to be an anthology reprint showcasing the epic bromance between Hank McCoy and Simon Williams that developed during their time as Avengers. Avengers 2, Wonder Man and Beast Marvel Tales #1 is an action-packed romp packed with iconic villains, heavy drama, and extraordinary feats. Okay. So yeah, these are reprints of the original year 2000 stories. Okay.
Mm.
In the year 2000.
Nice.
We're old enough to remember that, folks.
Yes, we are. I'm looking forward to that actually, because I enjoyed, especially when they were on the team together, and that version of Beast, because I hate the one we got now.
Well, they turned him. It's like they took the Age of Apocalypse Beast, and they keep molding the current Beast closer and closer into that mold.
Right. Wasn't that also where like the quote unquote evil Beast or whatever came from?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you're
That's
right.
what I mean.
Yeah,
they're adapting the current Beast, the regular Marvel Universe Beast into that. They're pushing him in that direction.
Right. Marvel collects 4 firsts in new Marvel Tales. So for those who want to start reading comics from the beginning, Marvel is collecting 4 firsts in Origins of Marvel Comics, Marvel Tales #1. The issue includes Fantastic Four #1, X-Men #1, and Avengers #1, all by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And Amazing Stories 15, The First Appearance of Spider-Man by Lee and Steve Ditko. The 104 page collection will have a cover by Nick Bradshaw, with a Virgin variant also available, a variant by Peach Momoko, and a cat variant by Chrissy Zullo. Origins of Marvel Comics, Marvel Tales #1 is rated all ages, and it will go on sale December 14th of this year with a price of MSRP of $7.99. So that's actually pretty good for that. And then, of course, it mentions the aforementioned Wonder Man and Beast book. So next up.
Speaking of Age of Apocalypse, Marvel teases an Age of Apocalypse style universe shaped by the X-Men's Mr. Sinister, a character who has received a lot of shine lately, especially in the wake of Hox Pox, and now moving into the Axe Judgment Day story. So Marvel unveiled a new look at the Sins of Sinister, a new X-Men event launching in 2023. The artwork welcomes fans to an entire universe cursed by Mr. Sinister, while showing off several new takes on familiar characters.
Yes, we're going through this again. It's the whole House of M, Age of Apocalypse, Age of whoever else we danced before. So,
The Sins of Sinister is dropping in January 2023. That's literally around the corner, folks.
just feels again. Remember a time when Marvel said they weren't doing any more, and I know it's line wide, but it still just feels similar to where they weren't going to just go back to back line wide events, but we're still getting a lot of events. Like
Yep, lots of events.
So it's crazy. All right, next up. There we go. I had to switch something over real quick. Marvel's newest symbiote is also its most disgusting. This is spoilers for last week's Damage Control number 2. So yeah, apparently there's another symbiote about, and let's just say it has something to do with something that will be found in a bathroom, a public bathroom, and that's all I'll say about that because it's dumb, and I'm not sure how I feel about this Damage Control book because I don't like the main character at all. Next.
Okay, October is Mephisto month at Marvel. I mean, there's no Marvel. Whatchamacallit? Maybe Mephisto will finally appear in Werewolf by Night. Is that what it is?
Yeah, right. No.
So listen, can you imagine?
Yeah.
So bottom line is, at Marvel.com, they're going to. It's basically in honor of it being October and the month of Halloween, they're gonna make it 31 Days of Mephisto. So, they're going to basically highlight bits and pieces of Mephisto's history every day in October on Marvel.com, in an article posted on Marvel.com for Mephisto month 2022.
Mm-hmm. And in this article that, matter of fact, yeah, this article that he's reading from is, I think, where they're doing that because they've gotten up to October 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Which is referencing Infinity Gauntlet, which I think we did in our Evergreen one. I can't remember. Did we do Infinity Gauntlet?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we were just so familiar with it, we wanted to dive into other stuff.
But didn't we do... Wait, we did one of them. I feel like we did. I had to go back and check. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Mephisto. So going back to what you said about if they did... if they brought in Mephisto in...
We did. I was about to say, we did Crisis. If you're thinking of a Perez work.
No, I was thinking, I feel like we did, I know we did Annihilation. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, but that has nothing to do with, I feel like we did one of the Infinity sagas or something attached to it. Regardless, it doesn't matter. That stuff's back there, and I would have to check a particular folder. But anyway, going back to what you said about the Mephisto thing, that'd be kind of crazy. And also, I know people would be like, why is it here? Why wasn't it in any of the 5,000 other places that we thought Mephisto was going to come in at, like WandaVision? Although it would be apt for it to come in Werewolf by Night in a way. But yeah, I'm not holding. I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be funny if it does. Next up, though. Marvel shows off Daredevil's new costume, King Daredevil. It says Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto's run on Daredevil continues, and the man without fear has an all-new mission these days, forging his supergroup The Fist and completely destroying the Hand once and for all, which I guess that's what Agent 70 was saying about the run-in with him and Punisher.
Right.
Working alongside Elektra and a host of other characters, Matt Murdock is preparing for the mission to end. Mission to end all missions for his time as Daredevil, and one might expect Marvel Comics is rolling out an all-new costume for him to mark the occasion. Cicchetto took to social media to show off a new variant cover for an upcoming issue of Daredevil, which not only shows off the full new costume, but give it its name of King Daredevil. And if you're watching the video version of this program, you can see the tweets from Marco Cicchetto, and also, wow, this looks like Elektra's Daredevil suit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting. Next up, Winter Soldier is getting a new costume in Marvel's Captain America Cold War event. This is breaking news, although we had some inkling of it coming into New York Comic Con, as reported by our very own @TimDog98.
The Captain America Cold War comic book event will see the Winter Soldier adopt a new costume to go with a change in his status quo. The upcoming crossover Cold War between Captain America Sentinel of Liberty and Captain America Symbol of Truth arrives in 2023, tying together the major plot lines Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson have faced in their sister titles. The event, a panel was held at a Marvel special event panel was held Thursday afternoon, earlier today, the date of this recording, at New York Comic Con, where more details on the event were revealed. And the covers for upcoming issues revealed Winter Soldier's new costume designed by artist Carmen Carnero. Let's face it, it's definitely a little bit more of the MCU-ification of the character.
Except for
with a cloak.
And a man bun, which I don't think he had in the MCU.
No. But it's coming.
Yeah, you're right. If you're, again, watching the video version, you can see the cover of the book, the variant cover of the book. So yeah, okay. Edna said no capes. What are you doing? What are you doing, Bucky? What are you doing? Anywho, cape cloak, not much different. Anywho, life-size Marvel Black Panther's Lego bust dropped on September 30th. Again, if you're watching the video version, you can see it in its full glory. If not, it's basically the head of the Black Panther, T'Challa the Black Panther, with arms crossed, or a section of the arms crossed in the familiar Wakanda Forever pose. Let's see. It is 76,200 and... Wait, no, I'm sorry. That's not right. 2,961 pieces. I was about to say, that's a freaking lot. And it is... Let's see. Oh, it's called the Lego 76215 Black Panther Life Size Bust. It is available to order already, and the price is $350 for that set. More power to you. I'm a Black Panther fan, not that much of a Lego fan. I would not be putting this together. I would like it, but no, that's a lot of money. Next up, though.
Next up, so this is a compilation article where it lists where you can get Hasbro PulseCon 2022 exclusives. It's a complete list of where you can order the announced figures and other things that were announced at Hasbro PulseCon 2022. So feel free to hit up our show notes and to scroll through this particular article and order what you like.
Yeah, so H70, there's a link right underneath that you might want to pop open. In relation to
what the link underneath. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, with the whatchamacallit. I did see this. This was interesting. I'm not a fan of the pricing on this. Mm-hmm. One of the cool reveals was that we get a proton cannon, Marvel Legends Iron Man. So it's pretty cool. It's definitely it harkens back to the character's depiction in Marvel superheroes and the subsequent Marvel vs. Capcom games.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, there's also a Mephisto figure, according to this article.
Right. Well, that was teased with the HasLab, the Ghost Rider HasLab.
Okay.
And you know what's funny? Do you have in here that they announced a lower threshold for? They announced the new figure to go with that HasLab.
No, I don't think I have that.
Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen.
Oh, nice.
So they're gonna because the early bird deadline passed. Although the end of this month is the my understanding, if I recall correctly, it's the end of October. It could be sooner than the end of October, but that's the deadline to fund the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider and the car. Well, the early bird deadline was not met, so there's no human form of Robbie Reyes Legends figure going. They're not going to produce that. Rather, they're including an alternate head so that you can make a Robbie Reyes out of the figure. But now they've made it so that the threshold is, to fund the project, it's $9,000 to get Madeline Pryor is only 10,000, and to get Mephisto's 12,000. So they're really trying to drum up business for this particular HasLab.
Right. But also,
sorry for the tangent, folks.
No. This is good because actually that kind of falls in line with this article. But also there was a retro Kenner's collection that I think A.G.7 just alluded to that has a bunch of retro figures from the mutant category. That being 90s looking X-Men. Excuse me, like Spiral, Longshot, Strife. There's a Star-Lord figure, the first Star-Lord, or the first version of Star-Lord, I should say.
Right.
In this stuff, and I was been thumbing through Dark Phoenix, XYZ. There's stuff like that that's in here, along with the other stuff from that the first article. So yeah,
I mean, for myself, I was gonna say for myself, I'm glad that you mentioned it. I was gonna just gloss over it because there's just so much to talk about in this article.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to look into getting the Spiral and the Longshot. Those are probably the most appealing of all of the figures that were announced.
Yeah, that Spiral was looking good. I was thinking about that one myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a Mojo though. I don't think we have a Mojo. Or is there a Mojo out already? But probably not in that.
No, it's out now. There's an exclusive Mojo that came out that was announced with I think it was a San Diego exclusive.
Okay.
With or no, it was like a Walmart. I forget. It was an exclusive that it was a package with Longshot and Dazzler. But now you can get Longshot on his own, and you can get Mojo on his own, and I think the Mojo's available right now.
Right. But also briefly in this Hasbro Pulse article, there was which I forgot to tell A.G.7 this because we're just getting to this now. But there was some Transformer stuff. There was some Power Ranger stuff. You get the Astro Megazoid. There was some Dungeons and Dragons, aka the '80s cartoon versions of some stuff. Like I said, and Transformers, 2 of which I ended up ordering.
Nice.
Because there was a shattered glass version of Soundwave, which I love my Soundwave, and then I think there was a Sound Blaster, which I ended up buying, and amongst a few others, which I won't go into, and some G.I. Joe stuff, of course. So, and apparently some Indiana Jones stuff, and of course Star Wars. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was announced during PulseCon. So you can go check that stuff out yourself.
Speaking of, you got the next article.
Yeah, Omega
also
Spawn.
PulseCon stuff.
Yeah, Omega Spawn. Wait, hold on.
Oh no, I thought. Oh, did you cover the Power Ranger stuff?
Oh no, yeah, that's right. Hold on, that's why I was like, I knew that I had that one next. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I was like, oh, you skipped over it because I had Omega Spawn opened up.
I think I might have tapped out of that one by mistake. But yeah, Hasbro PulseCon 2022 Power Rangers panel offers surprises, and I believe this was the same. This might have been the same appearance that we mentioned about the 30th anniversary that might have possibly come out. That announcement might have come out here, but nevertheless, making the surprise entrance on the live stream was a Walter Emmanuel Jones, aka Zach, the original Black Ranger, and David Yost, the original Blue Ranger, on the set of the 30th anniversary special. Like I said, it also mentions rest in peace to Retrain, just like I said earlier. But it looks like Hasbro is going to do the can about whatever they were talking about getting the gang back together. To which one of them's in some legal trouble, so I don't know if they're going to get the whole gang back together if that's still ongoing. Anyway, it says here that there's a Zoid Ascension project would be the Asteroid Megazord, which I mentioned in the last article. Let's see. There was some Street Fighter crossover figures with the Power Rangers that were announced, and some stuff dealing with newer versions of Rangers, and that's that. So that was the whole Power Rangers section of that. Next up,
Omega Spawn. Now we can talk about Omega Spawn. Becomes a massive McFarlane Toys mega figure. So it's one of the strongest Hellspawns to ever exist, and it's scheduled for release next month in November. Omega Spawn has 22 points of articulation, and it's just this big chunk of plastic.
Yes, indeed. Let's see. Pink. Next up, though, speaking of going back to the Hasbro Pulse stuff, Magic the Gathering announces Transformers crossover, which I was mixed feelings about this. I'm still gonna get them probably, but and I'll tell you about the mixed feelings in a second. You probably already know if you know anything about this. But Magic, so Magic the Gathering will have a set of Transformers cards based on the upcoming Brothers War set. They announced there was another whole nother. They're also doing a bunch of a whole line of like classic cards that they are redoing, but we're not going to talk about those. So there's going to be 15 Magic the Gathering cards that feature various Transformers. The cards will be double-sided, allowing the robots to switch back and forth to their robot and vehicle forms, like Transformers do. And, of course, will be included in the Brothers War set and collector boosters, as well as various Brothers War bundles. The cards will also receive 2 treatments, a normal frame and a shattered glass frame that uses card art from the Transformers Shattered Glass universe, in which the Autobots and Decepticons roles are switched. There was a second version of the second miniseries of that came out last week. We didn't get to talk about, but later we'll get to that. Notably, the cards do not use the transform mechanic from Magic the Gathering due to legal and trademarking reasons. However, the cards will feature 2 new mechanics, More Than Meets the Eye, and Living Metal. I won't go into what they do, but it is. Now, here's where I have mixed feelings about this. I love Magic the Gathering. I'm not great at it, but nevertheless, love me some Transformers. Y'all know this if y'all spend any time around this around this show. Y'all would also remember me talking about the fact that Wizards of the Coast did a Transformers trading card game that only lasted 2 years. Also had the double-sided cards and such. I still have a bunch of them I didn't get the last set, and I'm kind of upset about that. And this is where I have the problem with that, because, man, they could have kept that going because it was a really good game, I thought. But apparently, according to them, it didn't sell well. But yet, they're still holding on to other things that are not selling well. Now, cut to the fact that they're doing this collaboration. Well, it's not even a collaboration because Hasbro owns both properties, so, it is what it is. This, was kind of bummed out about it because of the fact that, man, that Transformers card game, they're pretty much doing some of the same thing they did for the Transformers card game in Magic the Gathering now with this, which I don't think this is not a standard set, by the way, but I'm almost fairly certain about that. The new cards will be a part of the Universes Beyond imprint, an ongoing line of Magic the Gathering cards featuring characters and worlds outside of the normal Magic the Gathering mythology. You think of the Dungeons and Dragons, animated cards that came out and other stuff. Apparently, there's 1040K Commander deck and some Fortnite stuff coming out and yabbity. But yeah, like I said, I will probably be getting these cards, and I'll probably be bummed out about it because of what happened to the Transformers trading card game that they also had. And I'm pretty sure they're probably reusing some art from there, but it doesn't look like it from these cards, but it is what it is. Next up.
Magic the Gathering reveals a multitude of new cards for the Brothers War. So they revealed over a dozen new and returning cards from the upcoming set, the Brothers War, including a brand new Planeswalker. Who? Okay.
I was about to say we'll get into that, but basically a Planeswalker is just a kind of a commander card, or it can be used as a commander card, but they're a special card, so never mind.
All right. The Brothers War will hit store shelves on November 18th, 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up.
Cryptozoic plans DC deck building game Rivals. So Cryptozoic Entertainment will release the Flash versus Reverse Flash, which is a standalone game that is compatible with the other DC deck building games. Let's see. Players take the role of 1 to 2 Flashes, and with 3 unique character cards, they recruit unique speedsters and rogues with the goal of defeating your rival 3 times. Each game includes 99 standard cards, 8 oversized character cards, rulebook, multiverse divider, and a first printing promo card of Central City PD. The game introduces speedster cards and weakness cards, and it will retail for $24.99, and you can play in about 30 minutes with 2 to 4 players. Next up.
All righty, just give me a second. I unfortunately closed my sheet, so I have to reload it, and it takes a little bit of time. You want to take the next one, and I'll catch up?
I'll take this because this is.
Go ahead.
I think this is something you talked about anyway already. Batman's newest enemy was built to kill Superman.
There it is. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess this is from Batman 128, or maybe from the last Batman book. But anyway, it's basically it says that failsafe has deadly capabilities, and yeah. So this is from Batman 128.
Yep.
So since Agent 70 kind of already talked about that, we don't necessarily need to go too much further than what I've just said.
Yep,
Next.
pretty much. Scrolling.
I can take this.
We have a lot of data in our sheet, folks.
It's not much more. It's not much more left.
It takes a while to load.
You want me to take the second
one? Let's see here. Where am I?
Action Comics.
Yeah, hold on. It's taking its sweet time loading. And now I scroll too far. Don't you love it, folks? Live podcasting. Okay, Superman Action Comics just changed the DC Universe's solar system. Really? Really? Did they get rid of Uranus or Neptune?
No, it's probably much worse.
Gosh. All right, I'm opening it up now. Superman's latest journey has altered the Milky Way galaxy as it appears in the DC Universe with a massive new satellite orbiting Earth. This is spoilers for Action Comics number 1047 on sale now from DC Comics. Is that this week?
I think so.
All right, spoiler alert for Action Comics this week. So apparently, Superman has brought Warworld to the Milky Way galaxy where it now orbits the Earth. Really, Kal-El? Like, that's not going to mess with the tides and all that other stuff?
Well, actually,
Seriously?
probably not, because, you know, it's Warworld. I'm sure there's some comic generation for why that won't happen.
I guess.
But now I guess you could say that the Earth has two moons. It's Tatooine. So, I don't know. But for how long, we don't know. Maybe it'll blow up or something.
Pretty much.
But yeah, next up, DC reveals why Batman constantly sneaks up on Commissioner Gordon. And this is spoilers from Batman The Audio Adventures #1, which is on sale from DC Comics. I think that came out last week. So basically, Batman The Audio Adventures, if the name itself didn't say anything to you, it's basically a comic book version of the podcast, or AKA teleplay, that the DC's been putting out, and I think is on HBO Max. But this is a new tie-in comic to that said audio drama, which was recently renewed for a second season, and it reveals that there's a certain logic to Batman's decision to rely on jump scares, because he's a dick, maybe? I don't know. Batman tells Gordon in the issue, it's the principle of the Panopticon. You know, I can't always be watching, but you're never certain that I'm not. So he basically is saying, like, yeah, you need to stay ready. If you don't expect it, you should expect it. So that's kind of a dick move. Anyway, next up.
All right, so this is a spoiler for the upcoming Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths #5. So this is part of a preview, and it turns out that Black Adam is saved by some characters who aren't not exactly high up on Black Adam's list. So he owes his life to 4 do-gooders who rescue him. And I'm not going to say much more than that. I know that Roddykat has not been keeping up with this at all. I've tried to keep up with this. It's a bunch of gibberish. Gibberish to me, you know, but what are you going to do? It's a crisis.
Yeah, you know what? That pretty much sums it up. It's a crisis.
Yeah, it's a crisis.
And also, let's face it, it's Black Adam. He thinks less about pretty much everybody that's not him. So it's not like this is that big of a big revelation. Not granted, the people themselves, which I didn't know one of these characters was still in the universe, so I guess that's good. But yeah, sure. Superman and Nightwing just held a first ever Super Seance, and this is also a Dark Crisis tie-in. And guess what? We're going to say the name that Agent 70 and I both love. Pariah.
Oh, why?
So apparently,
hold on.
Ooh, I'm dying!
Again, you would have to go back to when we talked about Crisis on Infinite Earths as to how we feel about that character. It's funny. But you can infer from what we just said. Anyway, apparently in Dark Crisis, Pariah has fallen under the influence of the Great Darkness, yada, yada, yada. And apparently to figure out, Dr. Fate reveals that something has corrupted the Great Darkness somehow. But to figure it out, the heroes hold a quote-unquote super seance, a name coined by Constantine, and to try to understand their foe. If you're watching the video, you can see a panel where Nightwing, Superman, aka John Kent, and Swamp Thing have their hands out in a seance like
You
that.
make my heart sing.
Nice. So yeah, there's that. Next up.
Scott Snyder and Jock's Book of Evil debuts a disturbingly horrific trailer. So this is from the Book of Evil. This is Snyder and Jock's latest collaboration, and it features a dark look at an America where over 90% of the population are psychopaths. I'm like, is that a conservatively low number for reality?
I was about to say, yeah, right. Exactly.
Just saying. Just saying. So it's a new horror series. Okay.
Yeah. Seems ripped from the headline, even though I haven't even read it yet. Nevertheless, yeah, if you are, yeah, you didn't say it, but it's going to hit Comixology next month. So, you know.
Oh, okay.
Or I guess this month, probably. So. But yeah, just in time for the Hollows of Eve. Oh, no, wait, actually, I'm sorry. No, it's out now.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. It's on sale this week, and it's free to read for Comixology Unlimited subscribers, which I have it. Agent 70 doesn't. Not an endorsement, just a tool saying.
Yep.
Next up, though, NYCC addresses accusations of hacked reservations amid server issues. And this was
lame
from a few days ago. So, let's see, on September 27th, the New York Comic Con official Twitter account posted a statement after the event's servers crashed the day prior due to overwhelming fan demand. Quote unquote, hey NYCC fans, we wanted to give you a quick update that the team is working on resolving yesterday's issues to get reservations back up and running successfully. Well, at this point they've already had it fixed, but I guess this was the statement that they had at the time for that.
Yep.
So I don't know, did you have any issue getting or
yep.
Just, yeah.
Yep, I sat online for a little while, you know, the first time around. Mm-hmm. And the second time around, I did not get into the queue early enough to get a McFarlane signature, which sucked. But, I'm not one of those pop figure buyers. So, you know, I really just wanted to get the McFarlane signature. I didn't get in. So hopefully I'm still going to have the one thing I want him to sign with me. Maybe I'll get lucky like I did one year. There it is. And find him like literally walking in between parts of the show floor. I literally like walked up to him and like, hey, can you sign this? So.
Right. Yeah, I feel like going to Heroes Con, I think I've caught a couple of creators like that. I didn't want to bother him, but I was like, I could just like, hey, you could, you know, but I didn't do it because I'm chicken.
No, I mean, someone else was talking to him. I was like, excuse me, I have one thing for you to sign, if you don't mind, you know?
That's what I'm saying. You're better than me because I wouldn't have done that. That's what I'm still saying.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't want to go up to someone like that with a stack.
Right.
You know? If I had one or two or even three things, that's fine. But anything more than that is a bit much.
Sure. All right. We're coming down to the wire, folks. Archie Comics introduces 2 new spooky characters to Riverdale. And apparently this is a preview for Archie's Halloween Spectacular #1. Which with the original names of Trick and Treat. Let's see. There's a lead story. And then, of course, yeah, I think you can infer what's the deal with these characters. This is a Halloween one-shot, so of course just in time for the season, and it's $2.99, and it's actually out now as of this recording. So there you go. Have at it. Next up.
Last but not least, The Adventures of Kamen, or is it Kamen Rider?
Kamen.
The Adventures of Kamen Rider 01 are slated to continue in Titan Comics' upcoming series, which introduces a new villain named Ragnarok. So in an exclusive preview to CBR, Kamen Rider 01 is a brand new Titan Comics limited series from writer Brandon Easton and artist Hendry Prasetya. The 4-issue series is set to continue the adventures of the 2019-2020 live-action series of the same name, which was the first of the Reiwa era of the franchise. I'm looking for a release date.
This week.
November 23rd, 2022.
Oh, no. Okay. I thought that was
on sale November 23rd, 2022.
There was something coming out this week that I wanted to check out, but we didn't get a copy of it because I don't think we get books from that. We definitely don't get. Well, we can get books from Titan, but
we can get Titan if we ask for it. So,
right, we don't get them easily, so I don't know. I'll see if I can check this out. Not the biggest Kamen Rider fan, but I enjoyed the Sentai stuff. So, anyway, that's it, folks. We are done with the news and we are done with the show. One last ad read, please.
You know it's late and we are tired. You know what's coming. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. So you have to go to cspn.us first and click on the Amazon link from our Keep Our Podcast Free link. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends, or Funko Pops. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, folks. That is it for us for this week's show. It was you know what? New York Comic Con is upon us. We will definitely have no more news from the show next week because
I'll be able to share my experiences, and maybe at Matt Wang 97 will want to come on as well. So we'll compare notes before next week.
I feel bad. We gotta have to have him on when there's not a con. Because it seems like we always have him going when there's a con, but Well, the thing is, he has different experiences at cons than I do, right? Because
he has some insider information and inside track on, doing things. Like he's worked at cons, like as part of an exhibit team. So he has a much different take on the con experience.
Shout out to X to the Z.
There it is.
Yeah. So with that, folks, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News&Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. PC_Dirt on Twitter. PopCultureNet on Twitter. PopCultureNetwork.com is on umbrella sites therein. And Tim DOGG98 on Twitter. Also CB Cron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. The Kliq Nation on Twitter. That's TheKliqNation, all one word, on Twitter. Also thekliqnation.com. And of course, Tim is over at comicbook.com, where he's over there writing his face off. You can find us on this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find this on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You can find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. And we thank the folks who are either lurking and or are in the audience watching us. Like I said, we'll be back. More NYCC, more She-Hulk, more Andor, more Rings of Power, more House of the Dragon. It's all going to be a fest, folks. With that, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
I love it when a plan comes together.
And
rest in peace, Judy Tenuta. So, yeah.